Hello, everybody. Oh, don't need these just yet. Welcome to the third day of Christmas. Welcome back, everybody. Today we are covering a Dave that has been requested a couple times, and that is Dave Portnoy, the head of the company Barstool Sports. We've got a lot to unpack with him. I'm going to take a look at the comments and say hello to everyone in a minute. Have a couple announcements before we get into everything, but I just do want to address Jean's comment right here, who says, is this going to be a trigger warning worthy story? In parts, yes. There are going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot to this story. I'm going to start by talking about who Dave is and how he runs his company and maybe some of the less than ethical things there. But then we are going to go into his treatment of women, which does include some discussions of things that are SA adjacent, and there will be some graphic discussion in there because we are going to read and react to an article that was recently written about him. So just so everyone knows, that content is going to be in there today. I'm going to try to censor myself as much as possible so that the demonetization gods do not spite me in time for Christmas. I'm just trying to do the 12 days of Christmas over here. So far, my other two videos, both briefly got demonetized and then it came back. So I think the 12 days of Christmas is doing okay so far. I don't want to jinx it. But before we get into that, I have a couple quick announcements for everyone. First one, I also announced this on my morning show stream this morning, but that is that today is the last day to vote in the Forever Home Friends cat contest. Here is a link on Instagram if you want to learn about the cats. So Forever Home Friends, my small business making books and plushies based on real rescue dogs. We are now adding a cat character, as I mentioned earlier this week. We had a contest. People submitted their cats. We narrowed it down to 5 finalists. If you scroll through our Instagram, you can see photos and stories about each of those cats and learn a little bit about them. And then once you've decided which one you'd most like to see a book and plushie created about, you can click the link in our bio, which will also take you to this right here, this Google form. And when you get to the Google form, you can vote right here You vote for one of the 5 finalist cats. I'm not going to do anything with your email address. I just want to make sure that everyone's only voting once. Please only vote once if you have voted twice, and I'm going to do the spreadsheets and look at if there's email addresses repeated. I'm going to have to only count 1 vote from each of those, just because I do want to do this based on volume of people. So, thank you, Pet Lover. I appreciate that. So that is the first announcement. If you want to vote, make sure you voted by the end of today. There isn't really a hard end time, but tomorrow I'm going to be counting the votes sometime tomorrow. Oh, cool, my door. That was Tyler closing the door. In the past, like, Chewy's knocked my door and people have been like, is there a ghost? Is there a ghost? Especially because it's always when I'm talking about like eternity and death and things like that, and then the door opens or closes and it's like, oh, there's a ghost. Anyway, so make sure you vote today at any point if you want to have your vote counted in the cat contest. Amber, it's okay if you voted twice. I don't mind if anyone voted twice. I'm just only going to count 1. Hopefully, whoever voted twice voted for the same one twice. The second thing is, I mentioned this in my other stream, but I've had people ask as well, and that is about where the Deep Dave merch is. So I do have the Deep Dave merch, got the sweatshirts right here, t-shirts right here. I'm posting the link in the chat right now. It is on savvylizer.bigcartel.com. You can go right there. That is where you can get a Deep Dave sweatshirt or t-shirt or any of the other things, including copies of my book, 90s Kids. You can get signed copies of that as well. So that's what's going on there. Now, with all of that in mind, let's go ahead and start talking about Dave Portnoy. A lot of people in here already know some things about him. I don't know very much about him. I just, like, he wasn't someone that was on my radar for the most part. And I'm not sure why, considering, like, I guess I just never read much of Barstool Sports. I was really, for a while, I was really invested in like college sports and things like that. And I still do really like college football. I was a big college football fanatic when I was younger and had more time to be into things that weren't work related. That's very sad sounding. But anyway, no. So I mean, the site looks like something I could have theoretically been interested in. I don't know if it's the format or something. It just doesn't really resonate with me. So I didn't know much about Dave Portnoy, but a lot of people in here are like, I already don't like Dave. He's a big oof, things like that. I have had some people say that they were pretty sure from the start that he would be the worst Dave. So it's entirely possible that he is the worst Dave. We're going to find out. The question I posed in the title is he the worst Dave? The answer is I'm not sure yet. I mean, maybe I will do a Dave tier ranking chart at some point. Someone mentioned it's weird to tier rank people, which might be true, but I already did a Business Guru tier ranking chart like a year and a half ago. So I've already crossed that bridge. I've already gone past the point of no return of being weird. So I think I might as well do a Dave tier ranking at this point. So maybe I'll do that. So we're going to take a look at everything. So just as some background information, and by the way, I will try to get to comments as we go. It's one of those things where I'm going to try to get through all the information at the beginning, but we'll prioritize super chats and we'll get to comments when I can. And then after we talk about everything, I will want to hear everyone's opinions and thoughts on it. This stream might be long. I'm not sure how long it's going to be. I'm hoping, I just know I need to be done by 3, which is 4 hours from now. So we'll see. Hopefully it won't be super long, or maybe it will be. Maybe that'll be more fun. Maybe it'll be more fun if we can spend our third day of Christmas all together. But I am doing, this is exciting. I'm doing a new, I'm doing a event for my business tonight. I'm selling at a small business fair, so I got to set up around 4. All right, so this is Dave Portnoy. I keep getting all the Dave names confused. I almost called him Dave Rubin, and then I almost called him Dave Ramsey. I have too many Daves in my head at this point. This is Dave Portnoy's business, Barstool Sports. So this is his website, has like some sports news on it. I saw that it started as like a way to that like a small newspaper he used to give out with like his predictions on bets for games and things like that. So it's basically a website about sports news and blogs and things like that. I have never really gotten that into the site before, so it's completely new to me, but I have been hearing some things about him. So we are going to start today with talking about almost 2 years ago now, in January of 2020. Isn't it wild that January 2020 was now almost 2 years ago? That's insane. We're going to start with then, when Dave Portnoy, the leader of Barstool Sports, about a controversy he had about having some anti-union tweets when talking about his company. So we're going to start with the business stuff. We'll get into the disrespect of women in a little bit so that we don't just boom right at the start. You know what I'm saying? We don't just like, it doesn't just, you know what I'm saying? I don't just like spring it on you. So we're going to start with this. Okay, so we are going to zoom in on this. This article is called Barstool Sports co-founder David Portnoy settles over anti-union tweets, and this is an article from CBS News by Audrey McNamara from about 2 years ago now. So this article says, Barstool Sports co-founder David Portnoy has settled with the National Labor Relations Board over a series of tweets in August of last year in which he threatened to fire employees attempting to unionize. All right. So from the very start, I'm a little sus of this work environment. If anyone here has worked for a company like this, but from the start, I'm like, okay, threatening to fire people because they attempt to unionize, that's not good. That's not good. The ability to and the freedom to unionize is important because you don't want your boss to, or the head of the company, to have too much power and be able to make all the decisions. There's a lot of issues with that already. So, and again, I'm gonna make some points here. I just want to give a quick disclaimer. Nothing I'm talking about here is legal related. Like, I may read something about lawsuits he's had or something like that, but I am not a legal expert. I am not a lawyer. I am not a politician. I am not here to commentate on what I think the government should or should not be allowed to do. I'm not here to commentate on what I think the law should or should not be allowed to do. I'm just here to comment on how I think whether or not Dave is an ethical guy according to my own ethics as a business owner. That's what I'm going to be talking about. So from my own personal ethics as a business owner and by my standards, I think it is a shitty human thing to do to threaten to fire people if they want to unionize. So yes, he's anti-union right off the bat. Let's Dave it up, guys. All right, let's continue. The informal settlement requires Portnoy to delete the tweets and remove any anti-union material created by the company. Here we go. Portnoy threatened to fire employees on the spot if they contacted a reporter to talk about unionization and shared a 2015 article where he said he would smash any employee union effort, among other threatening tweets. So right here, he said, someone said on Twitter about his company, I hope they unionize, and Dave responded by saying, me too, just so I can crush it and reassert my dominance. So Dave off the bat, and this is something I think I need to establish from the beginning. This Dave is he's like, imagine if Girls Stop Apologizing had a male version, right? You know how a lot of people will say like, it's Women's History Month, when's Men's History Month? And it's like, this is the equivalent of like, there's Girls Stop Apologizing. How about men stop apologizing? That is basically what Dave Portnoy is. He is a man who is proud of the fact that he doesn't apologize. He's kind of a shock value type of dude. And just yesterday when we did our stream talking about David Sedaris and his sense of humor and how his sense of humor sometimes lands and sometimes doesn't, and we talked about how shock humor was very, very big about 15 years ago, and that was the thing. He seems to be, from what I've seen, and we're going to go a little bit more into examples of this, the type of person who he loves to shock people with what he's saying and make his whole thing about, see how I don't apologize, see how I'm so alpha for not apologizing. That's kind of his thing, is like his personality is being a dick, and he plays that up for his role. So I think that's going out of style, and probably for the best, right? It seems to not be very cool anymore to be an asshole and have that be your personality. Most people are at the point where they're like, no, I just rather people be good people, right? So anyway, that's kind of his things. So he's talking about how he I don't know if this is meant to be a joke or what, but it's considering he literally is their employer and literally does have this power over them. If it's a joke, it doesn't land. It sounds like a threat. He's the frat boy template. He is an overgrown frat boy, essentially. Yeah, it's like he's in his mid-40s, but is still living the frat boy life, which I've told you guys, I was kind of a frat boy back in college. There's something that's fun about just constantly drinking beer with your friends all the time, drinking beer with your friends and watching football and doing nothing else and acting like a weirdo. it's fun. And to an extent, I miss that life. But there are some elements of that culture that are not good, such as being a dick, sometimes being misogynistic. I think Dave Portnoy has some misogyny in him, and we're going to talk about that as well. And I think Kaylee brings up a good point here. Some people use this humor to get away with saying what they really think, which is true in this case. I think he's trying to play it up because his whole persona is being a dick, right? So he's trying to play up how much of a dick he is. But in reality, he genuinely doesn't want his employees to unionize. So there is some truth to it. Exactly. The informal settlement does not require Barstool to admit fault, but does require it to notify employees of the right to unionize through email and physical postings. So employees do have the right to unionize, and Dave, as a result, has to make that clear to them that, no, you do have the right to unionize. I'm not going to fire you for unionizing. At least that happened. According to the settlement, Barstool oh my God, the attorney's name is also Dave. Guys, it's a 12 Days of Christmas miracle. How is Dave Portnoy's lawyer? This is like when Dave Hollis's therapist was named Dave and Dave Rubin's husband was also named Dave. Now Dave Portnoy's attorney is also named Dave. Everybody's Dave in this world. Oh my God. Yeah, also he says he's joking because it's illegal to fire people for unionizing, and that's why this ended up becoming a legal settlement, as opposed to just something else. It's Dave, exactly. It's Dave's all the way down. We're stuck in a Dave hole, Daveception. Exactly. Barstool attorney David A. Rosenfeld issued a number of objections to the original settlement. One objection contended that Portnoy should be required to notify employees that they can unionize by tweets. Rosenfeld wrote that it would be appropriate because it is the same manner the unlawful conduct was communicated, and that if President Trump can use Twitter, so should... Okay. Oh my God, Daves just live on a different planet. They really do. The National Labor Relations Board responded, the posting and emailing of the notice provided adequate remedy. So I guess he confirmed to the employees, no, I'm not going to fire you for unionizing. I can't do that. You can unionize if you want. It's okay. He reluctantly let people unionize like a good boss does. Portnoy's anti-union tirade drew intense criticism. Among the most vocal critics was New York's Democratic representative, AOC. If you're a boss tweeting firing threats to employees trying to unionize, you are likely breaking the law and can be sued, in your words, on the spot. In response, Dave said, welcome to the Thunderdome. Okay, this is so funny to me because this is such a Dave thing. I think he's like, I feel like he's the final Dave boss, right? Which is why I probably should have covered him at the end and not the beginning, because I'm just realizing how much of the final boss of Dave's he is. Because next week we are going to talk about the original Dave, the first Dave to start all Daves, which was King David from the Bible. I have not read the Bible, so this will be interesting. But I don't know why he's literally the final Dave boss. This is so hilarious to me. He says, welcome to the Thunderdome, debate me. Dave's an asshole, but I'm not gonna lie, that's funny. Like, I would say something like that. Like, if a Dave responded to me and said, Savvy, you're being an asshole, being so rude to all these Daves, I would be like, welcome to the Thunderdome, debate me. I would say that, I'm not gonna lie. That's fucking funny. Days of patios of peace and Thunderdome. Okay. All right, let's continue. When news of the settlement broke, the representative again took to Twitter. Remember we put the CEO of Barstool Sports on notice about tweeting threats to intimidate his workers from unionizing? Looks like he just had to settle with the NLRB, National Labor Relations Board, over his actions. Remember, threatening workers who want to unionize is illegal. Thank you for that reminder, AOC. She says, so she's got this right here. She's got this tweet, and all of that. And I believe that is the end of this article about that. Welcome to the Thunderdome. It's time to get Dave. It's time to get ready for Dave's. Okay. So there was also this other article. I'm going to take a look and see if this one says anything else because I just have a bunch of stuff to pull up. So this was the other one about the anti-union stuff. He also eats a lot of pizza. So that's Dave's other thing is in addition to running this sports news site, he also eats pizza and reviews pizza, which is again a very frat boy thing to do, which I'm not against. I think if you're a good person, you can be a frat boy and it's okay. It's fine to eat pizza and give it reviews as long as you're a good person. I don't think he's a good person. We're going to go into that. Get Daved. Imagine challenging a congressperson to an internet debate. And that's the thing though. I would do that because I'm kind of like what's the word? Impulsive sometimes. I could see myself doing that. I could see myself doing that. Didn't what's his name? Hassan, he played Among Us with AOC. So if internet influencers could play Among Us with Congress people, then you can also threaten to debate them online, I guess, too. Resting bitch face says, I have a coworker who's obsessed with the pizza reviews and talks about it weekly. I mean, there's something valid about a pizza. Like when you get pizza can be there's such a variety of types of pizza. There's something valid about that. Although I don't know why people trust his pizza reviews above everyone else's. But if he wants to review pizza, there's nothing wrong with reviewing pizza. I won't knock him for that. All right, let's take a look at this. This is continuing. This is just more information about the anti-union stuff, where it says they have agreed to delete a pair of anti-union tweets and to notify its employees about their right to unionize. One tweet, which was posted by the company's co-founder David Portnoy, threatened to fire any employees who attempted to contact a union supporter on the spot. See, this is a badly written sentence. This is a badly written sentence. Is this sentence saying that he threatened to fire them on the spot, or is it saying that he threatened to fire them if they contacted the supporter on the spot? That is just a badly written sentence. However, I know that a lot of online sites don't have a lot of time to edit their articles, which is a shame. We'll have to do a video about the downfall of ethical journalism at some point. Dave puts a tool in Barstool. The informal settlement with the National Labor Relations Board also confirmed that Barstool Sports was behind a fake Twitter account posing as a Barstool labor movement in an apparent attempt to out union supporters. Ooh, that's not good. That's not good. So Dave or his staff, his people running the company made a fake Twitter account saying, "We are the labor division. Who wants to join our union?" to scope out who wanted to unionize. That's creepy. Oh, no. Oh, no. That's like entrapment or something. I'm not talking about legally. I'm talking about like ethically. Oh, thank you, Lindsay. Lindsay says if you were my high school English teacher, I'd be way better at forming sentences. Oh, thank you. Thank you. We'll talk about the way some things are written, and even this one article that I think does a good overall talks about some of the shitty things Dave has done. I think there was some bad writing in that article, so we're going to call that out as well because we talk about everything. We look at things objectively on this channel. Yeah, and that's awesome. I think the AOC Hassan stream is awesome. I think it's great. I'm just saying I don't think there's anything wrong with people interacting with Congress people, whether you're challenging them to a debate, playing games with them. I think that it should be normal to interact with your representatives. I didn't think that him challenging her to a debate was weird. I didn't think that was weird at all. The welcome to the Thunderdome was like kind of an asshole response, but it also made me laugh. So, The dispute arose shortly after staff at The Ringer announced their plans to unionize on August 12th. Later that day, Portnoy reposted a 2015 blog post responding to the news in which he dared the company's employees to unionize so he could smash their little union to smithereens. Dude, this guy sounds like the worst fucking dude to work for. He sounds like a scary ass boss, dude. I would hate working for this dude. He followed up on Twitter by threatening to fire and sue union supporting employees. In response, the IWW Freelance Journalists Union filed a complaint with the National Labor Relations Board, as they should. Dude, Dave sounds like the worst fucking boss. If you work for Barstool Sports and DM this man, I will fire you on the spot. Dude, what the fuck? What the fuck? Okay. You do. That's hilarious. Barstool Sports did not admit fault as part of the settlement, but now it has to remind its employees of their right to unionize, as we just talked about. And they have to post physical things in their office to tell them that you are actually allowed to unionize, and Dave can't fire you on the spot for unionizing. He's a corporate cartoon villain in real life. If we were still this morning on Your Morning Guru, we were playing Darman Bingo, which was created by the YouTuber Jarvis Johnson. He created this bingo board called Darman Bingo, and one of the things on the Darman Bingo board was if one of the characters acts like a cartoon supervillain. Like, this would be on the Darman Bingo board. Like, Dave Portnoy seems like a real life Darman shitty boss character that's going to instantly regret it. Except, I've noticed something about Dave's. It's just Dave's in general never seem to experience long-term consequences. That's just a thing. They maybe get a lawsuit here and there and then just breeze past it. Dave's just seem to have the whole world in their hands. I don't understand it. But this guy seems to have never instantly regretted anything because he is very unapologetic about himself. So it said the company also agreed to remove a video titled Professor Nate Breaks Down the Entire Barstool Sports Union Controversy in the Settlement. The video mocked Rep. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez after she criticized Portnoy's tweets. Bloomberg Law reports that the video, which claimed Ocasio-Cortez was just trying to get a retweet from the president, has been deleted from YouTube but remains up on Facebook as of publication. The settlement also confirms that the company was behind a fake union Twitter account called Barstool Sports Union, which claimed to represent the labor movement inside Barstool Sports. The Twitter account solicited DMs from the company's employees in what appeared to be an attempt to identify union supporters. That is just so shady. That's just like such a shitty thing to do as a boss. Why would you try to trick your employees? Is there no culture of trust and open communication at this company? That sounds awful. That sounds awful. Would prefer to stay anonymous right now in the beginning stages of unionization. DM serious inquiries only. So he was just doing this as like he was going undercover to try to scope out who was attempting to unionize. That is, yeah. This Dave is definitely the final Dave boss. So this isn't the first time. Then it talks about Elon Musk being a dick. Okay, great. So that was kind of the whole anti-union saga surrounding Dave Portnoy and what happened there. We are going to go into some of the other controversies. So I looked at his Wikipedia page real quick, and I just wanted to see what his overall controversies are. We're going to talk about his bad treatment of women in a second. So his arrest, there's a section called arrests. Portnoy has twice been detained in NFL-related incidents. First on May 12, 2015, when he was arrested by New York City police after he and 3 Barstool employees handcuffed one another on the floor of NFL headquarters to protest Deflategate. And again in 2019, when he was placed in a holding cell at Mercedes-Benz Stadium for a portion of the Super Bowl. The latter incident, he created fake passes to attend a press event the day. Oh my God. So this dude is just kind of living his life on the edge, doing whatever he feels like. And I can see why he has a following. I think there's something alluring about being a dude that just doesn't give a fuck and does whatever he wants. But when you're a shitty person to your employees, when you make other people's lives miserable, it's not okay. It's not okay at all. So let's continue. We are going to get into some of the most recent things that went on, including his bad treatment of women. And we are going to start with some of the harassment that has been reported on since over the past couple of years. And then we are going to go into some of the more graphic and extreme stuff that was reported on just last month. So Okay, so we're starting off on the Daily Beast. This article is called Inside Barstool Sports, Culture of Online Hate. They treat sexual harassment and cyberbullying as a game. Several female sports writers recount the harassment they received from Barstool's stoolies and place much of the I almost said Dave when I meant blame. Isn't that's just like, that has to be Freudian or some shit. Okay, so it says, and place much of the blame on Dave El Presidente Portnoy. It's a misogynistic troll king. I'm not sure. This is in journalism. This is a deck. This is called a deck. It's like the headline under the headline. I'm not sure a deck should include it's misogynistic troll king, unless that's a quote from somebody, or unless this is like an op-ed, because if you're describing a person that way, that's inherently an opinion. And when I say that, that doesn't mean it's wrong. I personally do think he's a misogynistic troll king, but I'm just talking about from a journalist perspective. I don't think this should be in a deck. That's just my opinion. If I were the editor, I would have taken that out and said, do you have that in a quote? And if you have it in a quote, you can use it. That's what I would have said. I think it's very funny that he calls himself El Presidente. That's just kind of cringe. Like, that's cringe, bro. So let's continue. Oh, wow. All right, let's zoom in on this, make it a little bigger so we can all read it together. The other week, Dave Portnoy, the founder and chief of content of the sports blog Barstool Sports, did what he and fans of his site always do. Ratcheted up an online spat to a fever pitch, transforming their collective rage at a perceived enemy into content, even if it meant leaning into the type of social media harassment and misogyny that Barstool is infamous for. I'm going to have to assume that this is an op-ed or something because, and again, guys, I'm not saying that this is right. I just want to be clear about my thoughts on journalism in general. I don't think that any of this is incorrect. This really does seem to be what's happening, and I personally agree with this. I just don't agree that opinion belongs in journalism. I think that it should be more of like, the other week, this happened, and just tell the story. And here's the thing, too. I've talked about this in my Dave Rubin book review video, which is the concept that facts are contextual, right? So even if you just tell a story that is exclusively a string of facts, you can still include your opinion in there, because which facts you choose to juxtapose with which facts will tell a different story, right? But that's just my opinion on journalism. Anyway, let's continue with this. The particular roiling conflict dates back to October 2017, when ESPN announced it would be bringing in two Barstool personalities, Eric PFT commenter Solenberger and Dan Big Cat Katz. Why don't I need a nickname? And I'll be Savvy Gay Ant from the 80s Lizer. That'll be my name. Or Savvy Deep Dave. I need a not parentheses. I need a quotation marks name in between my first and last name. If anyone wants suggestions, drop them in the chat. Okay, let's continue. So they were the hosts of a televised version of their popular Barstool podcast, Pardon My Take. Sam Ponder, the host of ESPN Sunday NFL Countdown, was less than thrilled. So Sam Ponder is a woman. Sam is a gender-neutral name, so I wasn't sure at first. She is a female reporter. She tweeted out screenshots of a 2014 Barstool blog post in which Portnoy called her a Bible-thumping freak. Okay, why is he just insulting people? Like, that's just rude. That alone that's just rude. And then that is some sexual harassment right there. And that is a sexual harassment right there. So apparently Dave Portnoy said that to her. I'm not going to say that out loud because the demonetization gods will spite me before Christmas. Gender non-conforming girl boss. I love that. Dave Buster. That's great. In a podcast that same week, Portnoy went on a rant while Katz egged him on, calling Ponder I think I'll get demonetized if I say that too, but why would you do that? Why would you call someone that? That's not nice. Who should do this? I hope no one's listening on audio only, because I feel bad that I'm not reading this out loud, but I'm worried that it's gonna get worse. Wow, what a gross dude. So apparently in his blog post on his site, this is his content on his site for his business. This isn't him getting in an argument with someone in his personal life outside of work. This is on his monetized blog, what he does for his job. He said that this about her, and he said this about her, and he said this about her. He said that she should do this instead of talking about being a working mother. All right, so Dave doesn't like unions. He doesn't like people talking about being a working mother. It sounds like this guy is just kind of like, just like anti-worker in general. He seems awful. Oh, Jean can't see on the screen. Yeah, the words are basically he told her that she should use her body more than she should use what she's talking about. He said that he wishes she would stop talking about being a working mother and instead spend her time using her body to be the appeal. That's basically what he said. ESPN canceled the TV show Barstool Van Talk after one episode, thanks in part to an internal pushback by more than a few ESPN employees. Dude, Dave, what the fuck? This is awful. On September 11th, Ponder added a new allegation. Portnoy had said in a video that, Portnoy, she had a video of Portnoy saying that he wished that this woman's daughter, that instead of having her daughter, that she had ended the pregnancy. He said that about her. What? What, Dave? Oh my god. Okay, I'm starting to genuinely think this has to be he's the final boss of Dave's, dude. He is the final Dave. This is an F tier Dave. When we do a Dave ranking, like holy shit. So he apparently vehemently denies having ever made the comment. Well, she claimed that he said it in a video. Does the video evidence exist? Because that's what I'm wondering. I think if the video evidence exists, then it doesn't matter if he denied it. But I don't know what happened. Is this the video? I don't know. Let's listen to Dave talk about it in a second. Other sports media companies would have at most countered Ponder's claims to let the whole thing peter out, especially since a pound of flesh had already been extracted. Not Barstool and certainly not Portnoy. Okay, so this is one of the things that seems to really suck about this, Dave, which is that if you get into a fight with him or if you just disagree with him on something, he doesn't let it go. He seems to make it his mission to make your life awful. So this is absolutely the final boss of Dave's, 100%. Okay, let's see what he says in this emergency press conference. I think I'm sharing sound. Woo, okay, no need to do that. Let me put this on. Oh, we're watching an ad first. I apologize, guys. Once this ad is over, I'm going to put it on 2x speed so we can go through it quickly. There we go. Playback speed, let's go with 1.75. Great. Okay, well, there's a lot of music in this, so that better not give me copyright claims.
Music. Emergency press conference. Listen, we've been making a lot of big announcements lately. Every week is something new. We got bought by Churn-In. We're doing Comedy Central. It's one thing after another. One big thing that blows the internet's mind. We got another one for you today. Houston, live. We're going to be there Friday night before the Pats win their 5th Lombardi. We're going to throw the biggest party in the history of that Super Bowl, in the history of events, in the history of parties. Now, what makes a great party? Well, 3 things. A, you got to have Barstool there, obviously. A little blackout, whoever heard of it. Those are
Okay, so this is really just, he's just making announcements.
2, you need girls. We kind of know all the girls. So everybody, I feel bad for all the other parties. Every girl who's hot, they'll be there. It's going to be a private event, open bar. If you're wondering, hey, how do I get to this party? You're probably not invited. If you're wondering, hey, do I have enough money to buy a ticket for this party? You probably can't afford it. Hell, I don't even know if we're selling tickets. It's a VIP, invite only, the best of the best. Look.
Okay, so this that's his character right here, is being an asshole, being like, if you want to know how much this party costs, you can't afford it.
Feel good, party good. What else you need? You need entertainment. It's not like, I know like Bruno Mars, Taylor Swift, they're doing it. You can see them anyway. Go to big arenas. Nobody cares. They said, Dave, who do you want for this event? Play the music. Let's give him a hint.
Okay, well, we're not going to watch the rest of this because it appears that there's going to be copyrighted music in it. Okay. As Deadspin reported, Portnoy launched a Scorch Earth campaign. Okay, so a woman says, Dave did he said these shitty things to me, which are on his blog that he did actually say, and he decides to make her life miserable as a result. Okay. All right, Dave, tell me what happened. He called her a liar, insane, and a scumbag, banged out a stream of tweets, some of which read like he's waving a red flag at his 700,000 plus followers, and went after her again. Let's see if these tweets still exist. I'm going to pull them up. I want to see what they are. So he started a trending thing, hashtag Sam Ponder lies. What an asshole. The tweets, okay, one of them has been deleted because I can't get it up there anymore. The other one says, I will give a free t-shirt to anyone who gets a Sam Ponder lies sign on TV for the rest of my life. Must send screenshot and proof. Okay, so he's basically trying to say that she lied. Did she lie? I mean, about the blog post, I can't see how that she could have because it was on the blog, right? But regarding the comments about ending her pregnancy, it seems that there isn't any proof of that, so I don't know if that was true or not. I'm not here to speculate. My computer froze. Give me just a second, y'all. Just a moment. I don't know what's going on. All right, y'all. I'm very, very, very sorry about what happened. Whoa, there's a echo. Hold on. Whoop. I'm very sorry about what happened with that right there. I am currently trying to restart my internet. Something happened with my computer. I will be right back with that in a second. I'm going to take a look at. Oh, my frozen face is the perfect reaction. That's hilarious, guys. Remember when I froze in the smug to Jesus face on the Your Morning Guru stream? That was hilarious. I am very sorry about that delay right there. So I am going to. I do need a better Wi-Fi carrier. I absolutely do. I can't help it. Like Chicago, you only can really have Comcast or I guess RCN, but like there's not really any good options here. And it's like our internet just breaks randomly. Oh, I'm still echoing. I'm so sorry. Okay. Hold on. I'm getting the internet back up. I should be back up here in just a moment. I'm getting everything back online. Restore pages. Okay, we're back. I will be right back on the main part of the internet. Thank you so much for your patience. I'm so sorry about that, y'all. Comcast is the worst. Oh my god, it's actually the worst. It's actually the worst. All right, I'm back. I'm sorry about that, you guys. I am very, very sorry. Let me get rid of it on my phone because I'm going to run down the phone battery. I appreciate everybody's patience on that. That tends to happen. Let's continue with what's going on with Dave recently. Since everything got off track for a second, let's take like a 2-minute break. I'm going to run to the bathroom. Everybody stretch your legs, get some water, hydrate, and all of that. And I am going to pull up the next sources for all the next things that we're going to talk about, which is the very recent allegations against Dave Portnoy. I agree, internet needs to be a public utility. Absolutely. Oh, the original blog post is still up about how she needs to use her body more than her mind. Not cool, Dave. Not cool. All right, y'all. 2-minute break. Be right back. All right, we're back. Thank you all for your patience very, very, very much. I'm glad I'm helping you. I'm reminding myself to hydrate. I've been trying to challenge myself to drink 3 24-ounce glasses of water a day. For those of you who are going to watch on the replay, today or tomorrow, I'll try to get up timestamps so that you can skip over the technical difficulties. Many apologies for that. All right, so I've got a bunch of sources pulled up. Recently, there was an article that came out in Business Insider about Dave Portnoy. I, first of all, would like to extend a massive thank you to the person who sent me the screenshots of this article, because the article is behind a paywall and I couldn't access it, but I have now read the full thing. We are going to read the thing together and talk about it. We're going to talk about this article and what it says, react a little bit to what happened. There are some places where I think I'm not a fan of the way that certain things were reported on. However, I think that there are some things that are very important to discuss about the way Dave has mistreated women. So I think we're going to discuss that. And then there have been a variety of reactions to this article. There has Dave Portnoy himself has come out and said, this is just a hit piece. This is not who I am. This is, don't trust this article. There have been people who said, well, this article is in, like, this writer or this publication is in cahoots with one of Barstool Sports' competitors, so this was an intentional hit piece on Dave. Other people have said, no, the way that Dave behaved in this article, regardless of whether there was an incentive, the way that he behaved was unacceptable regardless. So we're going to look at a few different reactions that people have had. We're going to watch Ben Shapiro, dude. Ben Shapiro's reaction to Dave is wild. It's wild. It's basically him being like, well, this guy Dave, I wouldn't live my life how he lives his life. He lives his life in a way that I would never live my life. That's basically how Ben is being. So let's go to the screenshots of the article. And we are going to read this article and react to everything and talk about all of that. So let me share my screen. Yeah, dude, pet lover, I agree. Ben Shapiro should be named Dave. I think some people have been on my show and have accidentally called him Dave Shapiro. I remember when Dave Shapiro, it's so natural at this point. Okay, so here's the article. This is the title of it. Young women say that intimate relations with Barstool Sports' David Portnoy was frightening. So that's what the article's called. This is Dave right here. Let's take a look at the article in full. So I'm going to talk about, I do have a few issues with the ways that some of this was reported. This is just going to be my objective reaction, and then, or my subjective reaction, I guess, because it's going to include my opinions. And then we will go into some other pieces and things like that. So in the summer of 2020, Madison sent Barstool Sports' founder, Dave Portnoy, a direct message on Instagram complimenting him on his One Bite pizza reviews. Sick pizza reviews, you wrote. Thanks, fly bitch, he responded. She was a 20-year-old college student at the time, and Portnoy a 43-year-old multimillionaire. So I will comment on the age difference really quick, because I want to make it clear, I have been judgmental of age differences in the past. As long as everyone is a consenting adult, everything is fine. Now, do I think that there can be power imbalances with age gaps? Absolutely. Do I think that here's the thing. A 20-year-old and a 43-year-old together is not illegal. And I don't necessarily think it should be illegal. But is it unethical? Because there's a difference between something being legal and something being ethical, right? And we can talk about where that line is, and everyone's personal morals and ethics are going to fall at a different place on the spectrum here. We are going to see in this article that Dave does kind of have a habit of seeking out women who are 20, 19, that kind of thing, where it's like, I don't think he's ever tried to pursue anyone under 18, but that his 19, 20 seems to be where he likes to go after women, which, again, as long as everyone's consenting, there should be no legal issue. However, this is not a discussion about the law. I'm not a lawyer. This is not a law reaction. This is a deep Dave where we discuss whether Dave is a shitty person. So far, I personally think he is. So she was a 20-year-old college student at the time, and he was a 43-year-old multimillionaire. The conversation soon moved to Snapchat and text, where it quickly turned to the topic of sex. So, okay, in terms of journalism, I think right here is a good example of how you can use facts to tell your version of the story, right? And that's something that we talked about how facts are contextual. So this is a use of parallelism right here, right? It defines the woman. It says that she is It's right. It's Skater Boy does the parallelism at the beginning, right? He was a boy, she was a girl, right? That's some parallelism. This is the same thing right here. She was a 20-year-old college student. We have her age and her identification right there, and then we have Dave's age 43 and multimillionaire. Those are both facts, and this is an example of the author of this article using facts to construct the story of Dave is therefore a predator. Now, do I know for sure that Dave is a predator? We need to learn more. We need to learn more before we draw that kind of conclusion. So far, it seems like, and I'm a little sus of Dave, I think he's kind of scary, but I just wanted to point out that that is an example in writing. If you are writing a fact-based piece of journalism and you're like, well, I want to use this to show how this could be predatory, but you don't want to say this is predatory because that is editorializing your journalism, and that's not what you should do. So you can use parallelism in that way to compare these two people, and using facts alone, draw that comparison and lay it out very directly through the way that that is communicated. Does that make sense? Let me know if the writing advice is working for you guys. Okay. Okay, so then they went, then he sent her graphic videos. Okay, so the conversation turned to the topic of sex. Seemed that everything was consensual so far. He sent her graphic videos of other women he'd slept with, according to Madison, and in messages reviewed by Insider, he pressed her to tell him about her sexual fantasies. So I can't tell based on this alone if this was just regular flirting and everything was consensual, or if I think it was consensual flirting, and then things get weird later based on what goes on here. Just to be clear, I'm in this video, I will not be accusing Dave of any crimes whatsoever. I will just be like, people in the chat are welcome to say whatever they want. Don't send hate to anyone, as a disclaimer, of course, but everyone's allowed to share their opinions. I personally, as the person speaking on this channel, am not going to say Dave did this crime, because that is that could be used as slander or something, so I'm not going to do that. But I will say, okay, so this is where it's going so far. Oh God, I'm glad that you guys like the writing advice. Good. So when he sent her these videos, it's not clear from this whether the women in the videos consented to this. Because if the women who made these videos with him said, yeah, Dave, you can feel free to share this with other people, then I think there's nothing wrong. But if he filmed these women either without their knowledge or filmed them and said, this is just for me, and then showed it to other people, then that's not okay. But it's not clear what happened. So again, I can't make a judgment, because that would, you guys can, of course, say what you think happened and all of that, but I can't make a judgment. Maggie, thank you for the super chat. Maggie with the $5 super chat says, you are Jim. Oh, Maggie, thank you. Thank you for the education and commentary. Of course, all the time. Okay, we're going to keep doing writing advice throughout this. Absolutely. Dude, Jelly's kink in here is having the you are just on it with the funny comments today. I love it. Did the other women in the videos give consent? I don't know. It's not stated. So she talks about what her fantasy is. You guys can read it on the screen. I'm not going to say it out loud. Well, her fantasy is to be involved in a scene where they are playing the roles of her not consenting. That is what her fantasy is, right? So what it looks like here is that, and this is, I think, an important discussion to have. I'm a really sex positive person. I think that that's not surprising to anyone. I think that as long as everyone is a consenting adult, no matter what you do, is fine, as long as everyone involved is a consenting adult. Now, in terms of being a consenting adult, there are some precautions that you want to take when you are going to engage in a scene, right? I don't talk much about the concept of BDSM and things like that on this channel, because I don't want this channel to either get demonetized or get made into like an adult-only channel or whatever. But when you are doing something that is in the realm of things that are, you know, in that genre, in the genre where the sex is going to include pain or violence or something, because it's something that both people are consenting to, it's extra important to make sure that you are going about it safely. And the main thing is that you need to have a safe word, right? It's important that if you are going into this kind of thing and this is what they both want to do, that they go into this saying, okay, we're gonna do this scene. If you say this word, that means we stop. If you if the sex involves as again, I don't want to get too graphic, and this article's gonna get graphic, but if the act you're doing involves like someone's mouth being out of commission in a way that they cannot talk and say the word, then you also need to have like a signal, like with your hand or something, or with some if your hand is out of commission, you need to do it with some part of your body, right? You need to have established going into it a way that if someone does want to put this scene to end, or they think you've gone too far and are they're hurt or something, that you stop, right? Or people, you guys, you don't need to share your safe words in the chat. Oh my god. Anyway, yeah. So basically, it's if you don't have a safe word and you don't have a full discussion and like an understanding of what each person is comfortable with, then you don't truly have consent, right? Because if you go into something with no safe word and the scene is that this person is going to get hurt, or the scene involves this person playing a role, right? If you're role playing in some way, and the role would involve them saying to stop because it's part of the role, and you don't stop, but you didn't have a safe word, there's no line where you know where it actually stopped being consensual, and then you very well could do something non-consensual to another person. Is that understandable? Do we all know that it is incredibly, yeah, you know what, I agree, having a safe word, even regardless of what you do, it's important to make sure that everybody knows that if it becomes something you don't want to continue, that you can say this, and that means we don't continue. Some people mention traffic lights and things like that. So she says that this is her fantasy. Now, based on what this article is reporting, it seems that while this is her fantasy, they didn't seem to set this up safely. And again, just because I don't say that I whether or not I think this was consensual, I'm not going to say that. And it's not because I don't have an opinion personally. I definitely do. But it's because I don't want to say something that could be considered accusing Dave of a crime on video. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. But I'm going to try to share my opinions in other ways best I can without saying something too far, you know? So she specifies right here, in order to do that, in order to actually want to perform that scene with a partner, she said she would have to be pretty comfortable with them. So establishing up front, I don't want to do this with just everybody. I need to be comfortable with that person. Again, there are ways you can go about performing that kind of scene to make sure that it is consensual. And if it's not consensual, you don't do it. Right? Okay. So she said that, and then he agreed, of course. So then he buys her a ticket to come visit him. And then she calls the trip a traumatic experience. She arrived at his home. Then they ordered pizza. She was surprised to find him nothing like his charismatic online persona. Who thinks Dave has a charismatic persona? He's an asshole. But that's the thing, is like that's not her fault that she thought he was charismatic. People think people who are awful are charismatic all the time. There's people telling me they think Dave Hollis is charismatic, and some people find different types of charisma in everyone. So there's nothing against her. But I'm just like, his charismatic persona of being a dick. Excuse me. All right. So this guy, this is the final boss of Dave's, right? So it includes here, he was very rude, he wasn't funny at all, he reminded me of a boring, grumpy old man. My question is, and this is, I want to make it clear that I don't think the way that Dave treated this woman, which we're about to read about what actually happened, I don't think he treated her right. I do think he did things that are beyond what I would consider at all ethical in any way, and we're going to talk about that. Again, whether they're illegal, I can't say, because I'm not a lawyer, and because this is not, I don't want this to be used in a court of law of someone being like, see, Savvy slandered Dave. I can't do that. But from a journalist perspective, I don't understand why this is in the article. This part right here. How is this? I don't see how this is relevant to anything. It's setting a scene, I guess, but whether Dave is rude is not really relevant to anything. I just don't see. There's some parts in this article that I'm like, I don't understand why this fact is here. It's like when I read Dave Rubin's book, right? And I look at some of the facts he includes, and I'm like, why did you choose to include this fact? What story are you trying to tell with that fact? The story that they're trying to tell with this fact is that Dave is a shitty guy, which is an opinionated take to take for a piece of journalism. So I'm just saying that kind of fuels the fire of how Dave comes back and says, this was a hit piece, this was whatever. If you want to expose someone for being a terrible person, you want to do it in the least biased way possible. That's at least what, although I haven't always stuck to that myself. So, but I've always disclaimed that by saying my videos aren't journalism, but maybe one day I will try to make my videos journalism. Anyway, let's continue. So then after dinner, so he pulled out his phone and started filming her without asking permission, and she didn't tell him to stop because she was scared. Guys, here's some advice for everybody. If you want to record a intimate experience with another person, make sure everyone involved is okay with it being filmed. You have to make sure everyone's okay with that, because if the other person is not okay with it, or then that is not, then you can't do it. Okay. I hope that's clear to everyone. I hope that's clear to everyone. So there's some screenshots of texts about what happened. So 2 days later, she texted her friend and she mentions that he restrained her breathing and that kind of thing, which again, there's no mention of if there was a safe word. Dave has since responded to these allegations. And if he did have a safe word with her or a safe symbol or something, I'm not sure why he didn't lead with that. We're going to look at Dave's response. But it's coming off to me like they maybe didn't. And again, this is my speculation. The article doesn't include everything. It's coming off to me like my speculation that they maybe didn't have a safe word, meaning that if she was having her airway restrained, there wouldn't be a way that she could tell him she was uncomfortable and didn't want to continue, which makes this very unsafe. So that is what I'm gathering from this right now. But again, we're going to look at more things and I'm not going to state anything objectively. This was reported last month. So apparently she recalled crying and shouting too much. It hurts. I don't know. This is where it gets like, I think Dave's defense of this was like, oh, we were doing the scene that she said she wanted to do. But again, if there's no safe, you can't do a scene without a safe word. And also she did. Okay. We're going to go into it. We're going to go into that. We're going to go into that. So she slept on the couch for 2 nights because she didn't want to be near him anymore. And she didn't have a flight for 2 days. So it says Dave Portnoy makes no secret of the fact that he likes to have intimate relations with young women and to push the boundaries of what is considered socially acceptable. In many ways, that image is at the core of the brand and has made him one of the wealthiest and most powerful figures in digital media. There are jokes about non-consent, repeated use of racial slurs, and his harassment of female journalists, which is what we just talked about. Yeah, that's the thing too. If you're going to do something like that, when I said restricting her airway, I don't know if he actually restricted her airway. I just didn't want to say the name of the actual action because I didn't know if that would get me demonetized. He did breathing things with the breathing, right? And I don't know how it was done. I don't think we're necessarily privy to those details, and it doesn't make sense for us to be. And I would agree with Avrilta here. If you don't establish a safe word, if someone says no or stop, then you actually have to stop because that's the only indication that they have. Exactly. I completely agree. So So then it talks about how he's appeared in sex tapes that have been leaked online. The stock price of Barstool's parent company plunged after the most recent leaked video in which he violently does breath stuff to a woman using. But here's the thing. Why I don't understand why this is in the article, because it says right here both Portnoy and the woman said the encounter was consensual. So there was a tape of him and a woman doing kink activities together. I don't understand this part of the article right here, or why this is included. I don't like this part of the reporting. I'm going to be clear on that. I think that this feels like kink shaming right here, because if he and the woman involved both said that this was consensual, then why is this being used as an example of Dave being violent? Because this isn't violence. This was consensual activity right here. Also, if the tapes have leaked, that would imply that they leaked beyond Dave's consent too. So just because Dave is an asshole doesn't mean it's okay for his consent to be violated either. Doing non-consensual things to that person in return is also not okay. We want to eliminate the number of non-consensual things happening regardless. So this right here, in terms of writing an article, this is partially writing advice and partially this also gives fuel, I think, to why Dave says this article is biased, right? Because this article is saying right here that they're kind of brushing past the fact that the video was leaked, which if the video was leaked, that would mean Dave didn't consent to the video being public. So if that did happen, then Dave is a victim in that case. And that's not, again, you can identify someone as being a victim in very specific cases and still overall say that they are a bad person, or that they are, you don't think that they should be, they think that they are hurtful to other people or whatever. But it does seem like this was not consensual to Dave. So I think that is important to keep in mind. The way that this is reported is almost meant to portray this as the tapes were leaked, and it talks about this, and it says it's using the word violently here, but if it's consensual, then this isn't actually violence. This is a kink scene, and there's nothing wrong with this. So why is that being reported in this article, juxtaposed against a scene that sounds like the woman didn't necessarily feel it was consensual? Why is this juxtaposed with that? It almost feels like this article is trying to shame people who engage in less vanilla activities in general. That's what this part feels like. I don't like that. I don't like this part of the article. So and I agree with Anastasia here. Leak stuff is a problem no matter what. So I don't know why it makes sense to portray Dave as the aggressor in this case, because he is. In this case, it seems that Dave was doing a consensual activity and he was a victim of a tape being leaked. And I don't know why it's being portrayed as Dave is the violent aggressor, because in this situation, in just this paragraph, it doesn't seem to be that way. So this is an issue I have with, this is like what I talked about right when I reviewed Dave Rubin's book. The facts are contextual. You can use various facts to tell a different story. This is a fact right here that this happened. This fact, by juxtaposing it with the other story, this fact is being used as an example of how Dave is a bad person. However, this fact in a vacuum doesn't actually say that. Does that make sense? That's just a way to go about, this is just a way to go about looking at how you write a nonfiction piece and things like that. All right. So for years, he's managed to escape scrutiny. And again, why is this line transitioning out of the story about a consensual encounter? Yeah, Chewy's even mad about Dave Portnoy. Chewy's like, fuck Dave Portnoy. Don't fuck Dave Portnoy. Oh, wait, is my mom here? Oh, my mom's here. That's why Chewy's barking. My mom's dropping off some merchandise for me. Maybe I'll have to put on the Be Right Back song in a minute. Let's see. So... okay, guys, I'm going to put on the Be Right Back song. I apologize. I just have to go get merchandise from my mom for tonight's show, and then we will be right back to this and keep this stream going. So 1 second, real quick. Hey everybody, my mom's here and she wants to say hi to everybody. So guys, come meet my mom. Y'all, this is my mom. This is the famous Lola. And you guys know she has designed the plushies for Forever Home Friends. I talked about that. For people watching on the replay, I'll put this as a timestamp chapter. And Chewy's right here. Yes.
I get to see Chewy.
You get to see
Hello,
Chewy.
everyone.
Everyone's saying hi to my mom. Hello. Mom, I'm glad you could join me on a stream.
Hi, this is awesome.
You should call sometime. Oh, Chewy,
He's okay. He's
don't
okay.
be
I
rude
love
to
it.
Grandma.
No, he's fine. I love him.
Sometime you should come visit and guest star on a Your
Here's
Morning
Daisy.
Guru episode.
Yeah,
sometime.
I would like to do that. I
You
have to
should.
get here early enough though for that. So.
Yeah. So y'all, everyone in the chat watching, this is my mom. She's great. We all love Mom. She designs stuffed animals, and she was helping me out with some stuff because I have a show tonight, as I mentioned.
I brought some Kringles.
You brought some of the Kringle stuffed animals for tonight. Yep.
So is this a Dave? This is the third day.
This
of
is the
Christmas?
third Dave of Christmas. We're covering Dave Portnoy today.
So who's he? Because I don't know him.
He is the founder of Barstool Sports, which is like a sports news site. But he's kind of a dick to women.
Well,
he
needs to go.
He needs to go. He needs to go. I completely agree. You guys heard it here. My mom said Dave needs to go.
He needs to go.
He needs to go. Dave needs
down
to
with Dave.
Down with Dave. Exactly. No Daves. We don't.
Well, anyway, I don't need to stay. I just wanted to drop off your stuff.
I appreciate you coming to say hi. Because my mom appears in the chat a lot. It's good for everyone to get to meet you.
Yep. Well,
All right.
awesome. Bye,
Thanks,
sweetie.
Mom. Bye.
Have good luck at the show tonight.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate
Bye,
your help.
everybody.
Down
And
with
I
Dave.
found two chewies.
Too chewy. Awesome. Thank you.
Bye, sweetie.
Brianna says your mom is so cute.
Oh, thank you, Brianna. That's awfully nice. Take care.
Thanks, Mom. I appreciate it.
All right.
All right, guys. All right, we got to meet my mom. I'm glad everyone got to enjoy meeting my mom. That was a nice, wholesome break from all the terrible Dave stuff. Have some water, and let's go back to this article about Dave's. Oh, I'm glad everyone enjoyed meeting my mom. Yay! Everyone got a little break from Dave. Dave sucks. We're getting a break from Dave. Yes. Okay, guys, thanks so much. And I appreciate you guys with your patience. This stream has had multiple breaks because the computer, the internet paused, and then my mom came and Chewy started barking. Sometimes that's how life goes, guys. Sometimes streams get interrupted. I am planning to do an edited video for next Friday, so there will be no interruptions on that one, although we will have more live streams next week. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. I'm glad, genuinely. Okay, so it's talking about here, for years, Dave Portnoy managed to escape scrutiny. His behavior and comments weren't just accepted, they were expected. Okay, I like that writing. I like the rhythm of that sentence. They weren't just accepted, they were expected. I like that. It has some assonance going on. And commoditized. So this is some good writing. I appreciate the writing here. His behavior and comments weren't just accepted, they were expected and commoditized. And we've got a long sentence here with a semicolon in the middle. Check out that semicolon use. I am seeing comma splices getting more and more normalized in professionally published work. And you know what? Maybe that means they're going to be correct, which language evolves, and I just got to get over it. But I do appreciate that semicolon right there. And I appreciate the rhythm of a long sentence with parallel sentence endings, including assonance, and then a short sentence right after. It is a good sentence. His behavior and comments weren't just accepted, they were expected and commoditized. There we go. That's a good sentence. A 2020 Barstool documentary series produced by the media company features Portnoy forcefully... Okay, I'm not going to say that out loud. Again, though, as long as the documentary let people know ahead of time that it would include that type of graphic content, why is that a problem? I maybe I'm missing something, but as long as people watching it knew going into it that it would include that type of content, what's the issue? I don't see why that's in the article. I guess it's meant to say, okay, I guess I kind of get it. I guess it's meant to say, because it's like the topic sentence says that this behavior was accepted and expected. So the idea was that, okay, Dave has kind of been a dick he's kind of been doing this raunchy stuff from the beginning. Here's an example of him doing raunchy stuff from the beginning. But this article seems, I can't tell if this is what's making me wonder what the point of the article is. Is the point of the article to say that Dave has been doing things that might be non-consensual, or is the point of the article to say that Dave is raunchy and a dick? Because Dave being raunchy and a dick, we already knew that. Like, that's very obvious. Dave doing stuff that could be non-consensual, that is a big deal. That is a really big deal. So I don't understand which point the article is trying to make by including examples of Dave doing things that are consensual, things that are just kind of weird. Like, how is that relevant other than to say, see, Dave's been acting this way all along? But by juxtaposing that facts together, all that does is you'll have some boomers read this article and be like, see, I knew that those kids doing the BDSM were all really terrible, violent people all along, right? So that's why I don't really like how this article's written. I'm very kind of surprised. I'm surprised that, yeah. Exactly, Pet Lover. Pet Lover explained this in the perfect terms. It's so editorialized, it muddies the waters of this whole more nuanced discussion about power dynamics and consent. Exactly. That's exactly what I'm trying to say, is that if this article is meant to say that Dave has been doing things that are non-consensual, why are you including all of these examples of consensual things he did as if they attest to his evil character? That doesn't make sense to me. It's almost as if they're trying to portray those things as non-consensual as well, when those things aren't. It confuses the discussion because, and this is also, I think, why Dave has come back saying this is a hit piece. This is a biased article that's against me, because it kind of is. It kind of is. Like, I think if this article had focused on the story about the woman who had that bad encounter with him at the beginning, and the interviewer had asked questions like, was there a safe word involved? Was there any, what about it made you feel unsafe? And I know that those questions might make the woman very uncomfortable, in which case maybe this should be handled by law enforcement and not journalism, right? There's just a lot going on here, and I don't think this article is necessarily effectively conveying it. So let's continue. Down with Dave's shirt. Oh my god. Okay, so then it shows how a frat house has wants to welcome Dave, which is not surprising. And I'm not sure if the point of this article is it's meant to be a portrayal of how I guess masculine sexual entitlement can lead to these situations when not unchecked. And if that is what it's trying to convey, then it needs a lot more to back it up, because I think that's also a valid discussion worth having. But I don't think it has, while I think that this is the hard thing, I don't want people to say, Savvy, you're trashing this article, you must support Dave, because that's not the case. I think that Dave seems like a nasty dude, and I would be scared to be in his presence. But I don't think that means that this article is necessarily well written, because as we say on this channel, two things can be true at once, right? Two things can be true at once. Cross Country Friends is always in here with some good takes, saying, it sets up from the standpoint that someone could play devil's advocate. He can say, I have all these consensual partners, therefore I didn't do that. Right, and that's the thing too, is like, that's an important point to bring up, which is that just because you could have hundreds of consensual encounters, but that doesn't make one non-consensual encounter ever okay, right? And but by including those in this article, it makes it look like the article is less credible, and I think that's a problem. And I agree, it needs way more context if it's going to be talking about men in power. So I think this article is just kind of a failure on the part of journalism, and I do understand why some people have been arguing against that. So when we react to Ben Shapiro in a bit, and Ben Shapiro's like, this is a hit piece, like, he's not entirely wrong on that, but then Ben Shapiro is going to say some Ben Shapiro things, as we know. So let's continue. For many, Dave Portnoy is a hero, but for some in his orbit, particularly women, have told Insider they felt as though he abused his fame and power and put them in compromising positions. Now, see, this is a problem. This is a big problem. because this isn't a discussion about legal versus illegal. This is a discussion about how people in power can exploit those who don't have the same power level as them, because we have a system that's set up where people have certain advantages that other people just don't have, and that becomes a problem. And I think that that is a really important discussion. So it says, insiders spoke with more than 24 people with direct experience with Portnoy and Barstool, including 8 current or former employees. Some women as young as 19 who had no professional connection to Portnoy recounted having explicit online exchanges with him. 3 of the women said they had intimate relations with him, and that the encounters turned into frightening and humiliating experiences that have taken a toll on their mental health. Now, see, this is important stuff to expose, right? That all that other stuff leading up to it was so irrelevant, and really all it did was give Dave a good defense to be like, see how biased this is? This stuff right here, now that we're getting into this is important. So 2, including Madison, the woman at the beginning, said that he did throat breath stuff to them and filmed them without advance permission. Okay. Now here's this sentence this is very important. Is this sentence saying that he both did this to them, one item, and second item is filmed them without their permission? Or is this sentence saying that he did this to them and filmed them, both of these things, without their permission? Those are 2 very different sentences. And I don't like that the article leaves it vague like that. I think the editor, that should have been the editor's job when this article was getting edited. This is a failure of journalism. This is the where the editor should have said, which of these is it? Because regardless, filming someone without their consent is never okay. 100% no, that is bad. But did he also do this right here to people without their advance permission, or did he get their advance permission first? Because this is very important to know. This sentence could be taken either way, and that shouldn't have been allowed to be kept so ambiguous in this article. Because if you do this to someone without their advance permission, and you don't have a symbol set up like, oh, I snap my fingers, that's the safe word, it means you stop, then there's no way for that person to express when they're not comfortable anymore. That's a problem with the sentence. That's a problem with the sentence. But regardless, Dave did some bad stuff. So one of these the people said she considered ending her life afterward, and all of them were afraid to speak out. It says all 3 were afraid to speak out, fearing retaliation from the media mogul and his rabid fan base. That's the problem too, is people in a position of power abusing that by sending their fans after someone who speaks up against them or who calls out their bad behavior. That is a problem. Let's continue. So Barstool Sports attorney, I'm wondering if that's still Dave. I'm wondering if the attorney's name is still Dave. He said many of the accusations in the article embody half-truths and are highly misleading, lack appropriate context, and appear to have been provided to you by individuals whose motivations and trustworthiness should at least have been fully vetted. Okay, so what is their defense there? So these women are saying Dave did this, I didn't consent, it was bad, and they're saying this is misleading. How is it misleading? How does Dave defend himself? I guess the lawyers have told Dave hold off on talking. So if Dave does have a defense against this, it's worth listening to. But at the same time, this doesn't look good. No, Gene, I agree with this. That's what I was saying. You cannot do that. You cannot do that because of the risk. You have to have permission to do that. That's what I was saying I was saying that sentence didn't make it clear if he had permission or not. The sentence kind of implied that he didn't have permission for that, but the sentence could also be read as he did have permission for that, but didn't have permission for the filming. It's not, the sentence was badly written, was my point. 100%, I want to make this point clear as possible. You need permission to do this, okay? Savvy the real boss babe, that's me. I love that. Yeah, that can be my quotation marks middle name. I love that. So the attorney asked for more time and for further comment. Barstool's attorney did not provide additional comment or communication. So then it talks about how he founded Barstool Sports, and what the purpose of the company and all of that, how it started on betting tips and sports rants and opinions about sports and things like that. And then he started hiring women to draw men into the publication. And then they were online after that. This is kind of talking about the history of the company and what happened. So it says right here, then he's talking about Harvey Weinstein right here. Then we talk about the Sam Ponder, this journalist who's accused him of harassing her, and all of that. So, okay. Oh, this gets bad. Okay, so this is an example of a fact that should have been used instead of all that stuff about his consensual encounters. No, those don't matter here. This is the stuff that's important. In 2010, Dave infamously wrote a blog post defending an Australian man who had been acquitted of non-consensually physically engaging with a 20-year-old woman or 24-year-old woman on the so-called skinny jeans defense. Okay, when I read this, I wanted to vomit. He says, I never condone R word, but if you're a size 6 and wearing skinny jeans, you kind of deserve to be R word. Me reading this, literally wearing size 6 skinny jeans at this very moment. That's what he said. I guess they're technically size 28 because they're like, I buy my jeans mostly in European sizing that go by measurements rather than the weird number system. But basically they're equivalent to size 6 jeans. So me, who wears a size 6 and currently wearing skinny jeans, reading this line like, I'm sorry. So you're saying that I deserve that, Dave? So he said this to be a shock value joke, I guess, but that is not cool. That is just... Then later he just makes it worse. Like, this is where we get into this is where it gets worse. The post has since been removed. He told Tucker Carlson, dude, Tucker Carlson's a walking meme at this point. Did people even take him seriously at all? Anyway, he told Tucker Carlson that there was one part of the statement that he regretted, which is that he didn't actually know what a size 6 was. He didn't realize that a size 6 was thin. And when he realized that a size 6 was smaller than he thought, he said, I meant size 20. So his defense was never, actually, I should never say that women are asking for it. I actually meant that they're asking for it if it's this instead of that. That's what his defense was. Yeah, it's not a joke. I think it's not a joke. I think he was just trying to do shock value and just get attention from saying something shocking. But like, how, like, women feel, I guess this was 2010, so this was before Sam Ponder had talked about his harassment, but there's just so much evidence of why women would feel uncomfortable around him when he's saying these kind of things. So he's like, I had my measurements screwed up. I wasn't on top of that. I thought a size 6 was bigger than it was. So it's like, Dave, what the actual fuck? This was where it was like, oh my God. Oh my God. So let's continue. The big thing about him is he's very truthful, Portnoy's longtime friend, Elio Imbarone, said. You might not want to hear exactly what he has to say, but he says what he believes. Okay, all right. So before I was like, maybe he was just trying to do shock value. No, his friend right here just said, Dave's very honest. He's brutally honest. So if he said, if you are wearing skinny jeans, you deserve non-consensual physical activity to happen to you, that was him being honest? That was him being honest? That wasn't him being satirical or anything? Like, Dave is okay. The fact that these are his honest opinions makes it worse. Oh my God. No, I agree. I agree. Cross-country friends. That is one thing that you do not like. Some people will be like, it's like when people say no offense before something, they're like, no offense. Like, they're about to say something offensive. I would never condone this violent action against women, but nope. There's no but to that. But if I did, no, you do not. You just, nope. Stop it, Dave. Stop it. Good Lord. He says what he thinks. Yeah, it was like, oh, this person said, well, that makes it worse because now I know that he really means this. Like, good Lord. Still, not everyone at Barstool is free to broadcast their opinions. In 2018, Portnoy removed 2 posts that cast a sympathetic light on Brett Kavanaugh's SA accuser, Dr. Ford, citing the no politics policy, but left other posts. Okay, so he removed the post that sided with her, but he let people report on it other than that. Wow, Dave. Wow. Oh my goodness. 2 years later, amid Black Lives Matter protests, Dave told his content team in an email reviewed by Insider, if anybody wants to write about politics or mention white privilege or BLM on either side of the fence, it must be approved by me and only me. Nobody else has the authority to publish anything. He told them not to bother asking Barstool's editor-in-chief, Keith Markovich, ask me. So on the one hand, I can understand a founder of a company wanting to protect the brand and saying like, when I say I can understand that, I don't mean I can understand which position Dave took, because I think he was an idiot on this and a complete asshole. But what I'm saying is that I can understand the clear it with me thing, because when we saw this, right, when like Rachel Hollis plagiarized Maya Angelou and then blamed the team, it's like, why weren't you approving all of your team's posts and things like that? So when there's something going around where there are a lot of really strong emotions and a lot of really important discussions happening, as the founder of the company, you probably should want everything cleared with you as well as the editor-in-chief before it goes out. So I don't think the fact alone that Dave wanted it cleared with him is necessarily cause for concern. And again, that's another example, I think, of why was that included as an example of Dave being an awful person, when having something cleared with only with you as the head of the company in certain instances actually makes a lot of sense. But at the same time, I think that it's pretty shit that Dave wanted to like, I don't know, to like kind of what, you know what I mean, why he would allow things up there about the Brett Kavanaugh hearings but not allow things that were sympathetic towards his accuser and things like that. Like, I think that makes Dave a dick, but the idea of approving the posts and approving the content on your site, that alone, I don't feel right criticizing that. Like, you know what I mean? So I think that that's an example of why did the article include it that way. Again, that just gives more fodder for Dave to be like, see, this is an example of a hit piece. When it has so much important information about, Dave defended the SA of a woman at one point. And he defended the attacker. Dave did this thing to a woman without consent. Like, those are things to discuss. These things that are not really showing that at all. So let's see. So someone received a contract for the job. She was going to be in an on-camera position for the job, and the contract said, I understand and acknowledge that as part of my job, I may be exposed to speech and conduct that explicitly relates to intimate relations, orientation, gender, national origin, blah, 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 blah. I agree and represent that I do not object to being exposed to such speech and conduct and do not find it otherwise offensive or objectionable, that I am willing to work in such an environment. I mean, at least he set up the expectation in that case. I don't agree that that's a good work environment. I think, as we can see, I think Dave is a shitty boss. I think he's a shitty boss that he doesn't care that his employees feel welcome, that he actively works against their unionization efforts. But the fact that he included it in the contract, I'm glad he at least set it up. I'm glad he at least let her know this job is going to be shit before she took it, right? Critics of Barstool, both within and outside the company, told Insider there's a real risk to speaking out. The online community of stoolies, stoolies, I don't like that at all, as Barstool's fans called themselves, have waged harassment campaigns against detractors. These have included death threats, doxing, online harassment. So just the fans are being mean to people. Bob Murchison, a private equity investor with no professional connection to Barstool, first began tracking Barstool's content in 2019 after it hired a radio host with a history of transphobic comments. Murchison, who has a transgender son, has taken it upon himself to privately warn advertisers of what he perceives to be the company's transphobic, misogynistic, and racist content. I think this is important. If you're going to talk about the shit going on inside Barstool Sports and like expose the company for being awful, this is important to talk about. I don't like that the article didn't give some examples. I don't like that the article didn't go into detail. Again, if you're going to write a piece that's exposing what's going on and you have the facts to back it up, don't waste your word count talking about Dave's consensual encounters earlier. Don't waste your word count talking about like how Dave wanted to approve posts ahead of time. Instead, give an example of the transphobia going on in the company. Give an example of the racist things that were said. I know it said earlier that Dave had used racial slurs, which is an example of him being racist. So why does this not have more elaboration? Why do we instead spend time on that other stuff? That's if I were, this is when I look at certain articles, I like to look at them from the perspective of if I'd been hired as the editor of this article, this is what I would have done to make it better. Okay. In 2019, a Barstool employee shared a tweet containing Murchison's cell phone number. Okay, dude, so they dox this dude. So this guy would warn advertisers like, hey, some bad stuff's going on. There's this, Barstool has a history of these things. That's not good. This guy, and then a Barstool employee doxed him. They put all of his private information out there. That's not okay. Good Lord. Barstool Sports sounds like a hot mess, and I'm glad I don't work there. Oh my God. So they sent him death threats. They sent him a package looking like a bomb. Oh my God. Okay. So that's pretty awful. So when Bob reached out saying stop this, the Barstool representatives basically were like, we'll stop if you stop criticizing us. So again, good Lord. So in this past spring, Nantucket magazine featured a glowing profile of Portnoy, including a cover shot with him lounging in the ocean atop a rosé floaty. After readers complained about being offended by his inclusion given his history of misogynistic and racist comments, the magazine included an apology. Portnoy went on attack, telling Page Six that the Nantucket magazine editors were spineless jellyfish who are held hostage by the whims of the vocal minority. He added that anyone who didn't like them can go F themselves. Wow, Dave. Dave's just such a nasty dude. He's just so mean. So, then Dave attacks a company later on. He attacks SoulCycle because his girlfriend cheated on him with the SoulCycle instructor, and he was mad, which is not the company SoulCycle's fault. Like, okay, but his girlfriend cheated on him with a SoulCycle instructor, and then he waged a harassment campaign against the company. And then he tweeted, best way to avoid calling 911, don't have your instructors F the girlfriend of the head of a major media company. Again, head of a major media company. Dave here is like using his power to be like, don't cross me. I have power and I can crush you. What an asshole. Yeah, so they're at this point, this is, yes, exactly. This is what it seems like to me. Again, I cannot comment out loud that they've committed crimes, but this doesn't look good. This doesn't look good. So this podcaster Allie Weiss told Insider she had received harassment for a bunch of things. Wow, what a dick. Okay, and this is the part where we're going to get into something. So this part right here is about to go into some bad stuff. I am going to take a 2-minute break and run to the bathroom again because I'm overhydrating, which is important. Y'all take a minute to stay hydrated, and we'll get into more terrible Dave stuff. This stream is going to be long. We're going to hang out a while. I hope you guys keep having fun. All right, we're back. Thank you all for your patience. It's important to take a minute to use the bathroom so that I don't stop drinking my water. And as people enjoying the song, right? As people enjoying the song, my Be Right Back song and Stream Starting Soon song were both composed and performed by Katie Shesko, who is often in this chat and often in our Your Morning Guru chat. She is an awesome musician. Wow, look at me dropping the microphone. I'm a mess today. So you can look up Katie Shesko. I'll type her name in the chat. It's like this. That's her name. You can find her on Spotify, and you can find her on YouTube, where she performs flute covers of video game music. So if you like her music, definitely check her out. All right. So now we're going to talk about a little bit about how Dave likes to, we're going to talk a little bit about the age thing, which is not to say, again, this is me not saying anything from a legal perspective. This is not me saying that Dave has done anything illegal in this case. It's me saying that I think there's some evidence that Dave enjoys pursuing people who are younger. And I don't necessarily like that. That's not me to say that these weren't all consenting adults. I mean, the women at the beginning don't sound like they were consenting, and maybe these weren't either. So actually, let's just read the article and find out. Let's just look at the source. Let's look at the source. Ooh, I am, my voice is getting tired from all this. Stay hydrated. Okay. So last July, a young woman, Allison, was at her family's home on Nantucket. She had just graduated from high school. So young, just graduated from high school. According to several people on the island, Portnoy was a celebrity on Nantucket. Recent high school graduates from wealthy New England towns would try to land an invitation to his house while summering on the island. So I guess because he's rich, he throws big parties. The reputation on the island is that he is a god and a king and kind of untouchable, Allison said, and everyone wants to get into his house for parties. Okay, so this whole part right here, I have issues with a lot of things that's about to happen. I have issues with things that Dave did, and I have issues with things that some of the women involved did. I have a lot of issues with everything that's about to happen. Does it seem like Dave is preying on young women? I'm going to say yes. I think Dave is a creep. I think Dave is a creep. I also think what happened here is very weird, and I'm about to read it. All right. Allison's sister, Olivia, who had recently graduated from college, told Insider that some of her friends were sending Portnoy direct messages attempting to get the mogul's attention, but he wasn't giving them the time of day. Then they realized that her 19-year-old sister, Allison, might be more his type. So this woman, Olivia, who's probably 22, 23, is reaching out and saying, you know what, maybe I'm too old for Dave, who's in his mid-40s. Let's see if we can use our 19-year-old sister to get an invitation. I am Dave is the main villain here and the creep, but I am not cool with this older sister saying, "Oh, I think maybe this 45-year-old man likes teenage girls. Maybe I should throw my teenage sister at him." What kind of sister does that? Excuse me, what kind of sister does that? Oh my god. Ew. So, I mean, this is not me here saying that I hate Olivia. I think Olivia shouldn't be around Dave either, but like, why would she say, "You know what? Maybe I should have my younger sister talk to Dave because he likes teenage girls." Bad art sister. Exactly. Yes, it's that. Oh my god. So Olivia and her friend said, "You should reach out to him. He likes younger girls." And he completely took the bait. He was much more interested in her than any of my 22-year-old friends. Allison said, so why are they encouraging their teenage sister to reach out to this 45-year-old man? What? What? Oh my god. Like, so I can criticize Dave for being a creep all day, and that's the main point of today's stream. But that doesn't mean, Olivia, that doesn't mean that you are blameless in intentionally throwing your teenage sister at this adult man. I mean, I guess Allison's an adult. I will say Allison's an adult. She's 19. I don't know the laws in Nantucket. But again, this is not related to anything legal. This is still ew. Okay. Allison sent Portnoy a message telling him she was on the island and would love to see him. He invited her over to his house and she asked him whether she could come by with a couple friends. "While we fuck seems weird," he wrote in a message. So she wanted to bring her, I guess she wanted to bring her friends with, maybe her sister also, because she didn't want to be alone. Or I guess she was a little scared of him, which is valid. But I also, like, in this situation, in a vacuum, I understand Dave not wanting her to bring her friends, because if you're planning to hook up with someone, them bringing their friends is kind of weird because you don't want their friends there for that. However, being 45 and hooking up with a 19-year-old is also very weird, and you shouldn't do it because it's creepy. So let's continue. So he told Allison he didn't like her friends messaging him. Then he wrote, "I'm not cool with your friends coming. Sorry." And then she didn't go. Good for Allison not going. But then a week later, she messaged him again and they agreed to meet up in the afternoon. She said she was pushed by her friends. Okay, so can we just talk about Allison's sister here? Pressuring her. She wasn't comfortable meeting Dave alone. And she said no. And then her sister was like, "No, do it. We'll get into the party." Why is she doing this? I think the older sister is doing this because she wants to get invited to Dave's parties, because apparently on Nantucket, Dave is known for having these huge lavish events and people want to get to know him because he has all this money and all these resources. So I think she was trying to get some of that. But you don't sexually bait your younger sister for that. What a terrible sister, dude. Again, this is all I have of this, and maybe there's more to the story. Maybe there's a lot more to the story that I don't know, in which case I will gladly change my opinion. But based on this alone, and this could be, again, I've talked about how this article is not written very well. The reporting is not very good in this article, so it could be a failure on the part of the journalist. But right now, I'm just disgusted at the sister, too. So her friends and sister pressured her to go meet Dave. So then she goes to meet Dave. So she's sitting by the pool. He gave her some watermelon and some water. He asked her which school she went to and which grade she was in. Oh my god. If you are in your 40s, do not ask someone what grade they're in if you're planning to do anything intimate with them. That should go without saying. What grade are you in? What grade are you in? I mean, I guess if someone is a continuing education high school student who's also 40, that's possible. But just what grade are you in generally implies that you think this person is in high school. right? I guess sometimes people would say, what grade are you in college? It'll say, but normally they say, what year are you? But if it's just a regional dialect or something, you say, what grade are you in? Oh, I'm a junior in college or something. Okay. What grade are you? What grade are you in is a red flag. So then they go inside and then they got intimate with each other and he kicked her out. She said her memories were fuzzy because of her emotional distress. And she said that he did the air thing to her too, to her throat and neck. And he kept doing this to her and she thought it was gross and she was scared. A little over an hour later, her friends picked her up. And then her friend said she was in shock and she felt preyed on. She does not describe it as SA, and that's important to remember. I'm not accusing Dave of SA publicly. Maybe privately, I might say to people later that I do think that that's what he did, but I'm not saying that publicly on my stream. And she does not define it that way, so that is important to keep in mind. But she does think Dave was being super creepy. And I'm also just really disappointed in her friends for allowing her to get into this situation, and for not only that, but for encouraging her to get into this situation, for pressuring her to get into this situation. What? She felt preyed on and her friends encouraged, or like she said she didn't, like, originally she was like, Dave, can I bring my friends? And he was like, no. And she was like, I don't feel comfortable meeting you alone. And her friends were like, no, do it. Go meet him alone. Do it. Why? What terrible friends, dude. Awful friends, awful Dave. Everyone's awful today. God damn. So the photos of them together circulated, and then the entire island knew that she had sex with Dave. And Allison was suffering from depression at the time, and she contemplated ending her own life over this because of how awful she felt the whole time. 3 nights later, she attempted to end her life and ended up going to the hospital. And in the hospital, her mom found the messages from Dave. And then her mom called the Nantucket Police Department. She told the police, go put somebody outside his door because you're going to see every day there's some young girl being dropped off. Insider viewed police documents confirming this call. So the mom did call the police and say that. Her mom wanted to pursue some sort of legal action, but Allison refused, saying she knew he would drag her through the mud, which, I mean, if you see the way that Dave has gone after people who have done any type of criticism of him in the past, the doxing, the actual death threats, the mailing things to people's houses, like, Dave's fans seem kind of scary. They seem kind of scary. For years, Dave has been untouchable. In 2020, following the controversy surrounding his use of the N-word, so Dave used the N-word and thinks it's fine. That's racist, guys. Don't use racial slurs. Good Lord. He declared himself uncancelable. Throughout all the scandals and controversies, Barstool has attracted advertisers like Dunkin' Donuts and Coors, partnered with Walmart on a line of frozen pizzas. So basically, they have a lot of advertisers. They make a lot of money. They now have a female CEO. So in 2016, Erica Nardini beat out 74 men to become Barstool's new CEO, and she brought with her an influx of high-level female executives. The company began to branch out in its content as well, launching 5 female lifestyle podcasts, including Chicks on the Office, Call Her Daddy, and Nardini's own token CEO. I've heard of Call Her Daddy before. I haven't listened to it, though, but I've heard it's a pretty good podcast. I didn't know it was run by this company. I guess it's not technically run by Dave because Erica, I think, runs it, but it's part of all the same company. In 2020, Penn National Gaming purchased a 36% stake in Barstool. The next year, Penn National stock joined the S&P 500 index. Portnoy suddenly was newly accountable as part of a publicly traded company. Erica Shippers, Penn National's senior vice president, told the local news site Billy Penn in an email that the company was confident Barstool has the right guardrails in place to ensure that their comments won't negatively reflect on Penn or the gaming industry in general. He said this included comments that might be deemed as harassment or discrimination of women or minorities, and then Penn National did not respond to their comment. Let's continue. Following the Penn National acquisition, Portnoy convened his staff for a meeting. According to numerous former employees who attended, he told them he was contractually obligated to stay at the company for 5 years, but planned to leave afterward and pursue other ambitions like sports team ownership. Portnoy's celebrity status and professional success should open many doors should he choose to leave Barstool, but some who have worked with Portnoy can't help being concerned by his past behavior, particularly his sexual exploits with young women. Some recently graduated from high school. So this is the thing where it's like, this is towing a line, right? 18, you're technically an adult. That most people graduate high school at 18, right? You're technically an adult. You can join the military. You can buy a gun. You can get a tattoo. You can't drink alcohol in the US, which is fucking wild to me that you can join the military but not buy beer. How does that make any sense at all? But anyway, good afternoon, Katie. I was just shouting you out earlier because we had your flute music on and everyone was loving it. Guys, that's Katie right there. If you like the flute music on this show, check out Katie. So anyway, Dave's preying on girls who recently graduated from high school. That's creepy and gross. Dave, you need to fucking stop it. In the popular r/Barstool Sports Reddit thread, Stoolies regularly discuss Portnoy's conquests. Phrasing it as conquests is a little weird. I don't know if that's another thing where I'm like, was that a direct quote? Was calling it a conquest a direct quote from Dave or from his fans? Or is the writer of this calling them conquests? Because that's a loaded term that does include journalistic bias, and I don't support that from a journalist. I would rather that be in a direct quote. If it's not in a direct quote, I'd rather you use a different word. No, Laura, I think here's the thing, Laura. I think it's a fairly, I understand that. So people talk about how people's frontal lobes aren't developed until they're on average 25, right? So people say, okay, it makes sense that you wouldn't let people drink alcohol because it can negatively affect their brain development. My point is, if your frontal lobe isn't developed until you're 25, then you shouldn't let people join the military until they're 25. You shouldn't let people buy a gun until they're 25. You shouldn't let people do anything. I'm just saying that there has to be a line, right? So it's like, if you can do all of these things that put your life at risk when you're 18, but you can't drink alcohol yet. It's like, if the reason is for frontal lobe development, then make it so you can't do anything until you're 25. I don't think that would be a popular law. And I think that there would be a lot of issues surrounding how that would actually be put into practice. But yeah, or why can't, exactly. That, Katie, that's exactly what I was going to say. It's exactly what I was going to say. If you shouldn't be able, I think there's a valid point to be brought up about, okay, drinking alcohol or like smoking weed too. I don't think there's anything wrong with adults smoking weed if they want to. I smoke weed sometimes. I think the problem is that if you're a teenager doing that, it can affect your frontal lobe development and affect your brain, and it's not good for you, right? But then at that point, you can't say, oh, at 18, you can't drink alcohol, you can't smoke weed, you can't do this, but you can join the military and go fight and risk your life for the country. That's not, that something doesn't match up there. That's what I would agree with. It's just inconsistent is the problem. Playing a dangerous game here, Davey, the title of one thread referring to a since deleted TikTok posted by a 19-year-old who said Dave began pursuing her on Instagram shortly after her high school graduation. Dave, that's gross. That's creepy. Don't do that. Ew. Ew, Dave. No, ew. Several additional TikTok videos, many of which have been made private or taken down, purported to show private messages from Portnoy sent to women soliciting sex. When the poster of one of these videos, who was 19 at the time of posting, was reached for verification, she forwarded a screenshot of the message sent to Portnoy. He tweeted it out to his followers with the caption, "Hard-hitting research from Business Insider DMing girls who follow me on Insta asking if they've DM'd with me." That is pretty weird. Again, I don't have a lot of, I don't think that this article was very ethically written either. I have a lot of issues with the journalism, but I think even more than that, I have issues with the way that Dave treats women, right? Yeah. Ew, Dave. No, ew. Yeah, that's my quote for the year. All right. So this is the girl on Instagram. So at the time, she had just turned 19 and he was 40. So apparently they had some DMs. She responded willingly at the time. She came to see an inherent problem with a man in power knowing he could take advantage of a younger girl. So I guess she DM'd with him and it was consensual at first, but then she was like, wait, no, this is creepy. He's 40. I'm 19. I'm going to put a stop to this. And she agrees it's every man that has followers or status of any sort. It's kind of terrifying in a way. It is pretty terrifying. She says her parents were really freaked out by it when they found out she was thinking of meeting up with him and threatened to stop paying for her college if she followed through. Thank God this woman's parents are involved. A lot of these cases, I'm like, okay. And it's like, if you're 19, you're an adult. It's not your parents' fault if something bad happens because you're an adult. But I'm still like, a lot of these cases, I'm like, it would be nice if there was someone who could help them out of this situation. Good for this girl's mom saying, no, Dave, you're gross. She's glad she didn't end up doing things with him. She almost would have let him do things is her thing. Okay, so that's this article. We're going to look at some reactions to it in just a second. I have some major issues with the article. I have bigger issues with Dave. I think that so far, the question I asked in the title of this video, is he the worst Dave? So far, I'm leaning towards, yeah, I think he might be the worst Dave. I think he might be the final boss of Dave's. I think he might be the final boss of Dave's. But I also don't like the article. I guess I shouldn't say but. That's not really but, because those things don't contradict each other. They're just both true. So I should say and also. I think this Dave is awful and he's the final boss of Dave's and he's terrible. And also, I think that this article wasn't written in an ethical way. I think this article was biased. I don't think it was good journalistic reporting. Okay. Look at all of you guys who live outside the US and started drinking when you were younger. Look at you. And that's what's wild is in the US, I used to technically get underage drunk all the time. But my underage drunk, I was 19, 20, right? Like that's in the US, that's underage drunk. Isn't that wild? Oh, wow. Did I just like admit to a crime on this stream that I, in the US, got drunk at 19? But how the fuck is that a crime in the US? That shouldn't be a crime. That's so dumb. All right, let's go on. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff with this. There's a Reddit thread we're going to look at. There's a Philip DeFranco video about this that I think is pretty good. And there's a Ben Shapiro video about this, which is pretty awful. And we're going to look at all of that. And then I think there's a stream I had from Destiny where he talks about how, I didn't get through the whole thing yet, so I don't know if it's good or not. But it's very long, so we'll just watch some of it. But it's about how he's not taking his lawyer's advice. Okay. So let's take a look at all of this stuff. Yeah, I'm going to get my ass demonetized. Okay. So let's look at this Reddit thread first, which I think has a lot of interesting discussion. Don't really agree with all of it, but let's take a look. Here's the thing, y'all. There's a weird culture around writers and drinking, and I don't support it. When I was in college, one of my professors told me that every writer who struggles with alcoholism was successful as a writer in spite of that and not because of that, right? Like, a lot of people think that like part of this creative world is abusing substances, and it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be, because I have had times where I have relied too much on substances and it's bad for you. It puts you in a bad place. If you're a writer and you like, don't ever feel like that's part of writer culture, and I really hate that it is. So let's take a look at this Reddit thread. Yeah, it was a wise quote from my professor, and also he wrote this book that I'm reading for Reindeer Readathon. Fun facts. Okay, so this is from the r/out of the loop, which can be a helpful subreddit when you are out of the loop. I'm out of the loop a lot. What's going on with Dave Portnoy and Business Insider? So this is the article this person posted and said, he keeps saying it's fake, but has he been able to debunk it? Why is there so much chaos around it? Okay. So let's see. So Dave has basically been denying the allegations in this article. So here is an answer from Reddit. And again, I'm just reading these to see what people have to say. I don't need my headphones yet. I'm just reading these to see what people have to say. None of this I'm taking as fact. I'm just curious what the discussion is around this. All right. So it says right here, there seem to be conflicting reports about the author of the story and the source material. And what makes the whole thing a bit more muddy is that Business Insider, here's the part that I think is interesting. Business Insider shares financial backing with an online gambling platform that was in direct competition with another platform that Portnoy is an investor of. So this is where I've talked about this before. I am always a little suspect of journalism that takes a biased approach because there's often an incentive for it, right? And that's an issue with I don't know if I don't want to just say blame capitalism in general because that's almost a meme, but I want to talk about how there is an issue with journalism relies on ad revenue. You get clicks from things, the more shocking of a thing you post. And if your company has an investment in something, they may be incentivized to do something that may hurt another company. Now, does that mean that Dave is off the hook? Absolutely not. Dave seems like a terrible guy. But it means that Business Insider, if somebody who was involved with one of the companies that they share backing with did the same things as Dave, they maybe wouldn't report on it. And then that would be a loss. Does that make sense? There's a little bit of bias in the journalism. So this person was talking about how Business Insider shares financial backing with an online gambling platform that was in direct competition with another platform that Dave Portnoy is an investor of, and the state of New York was considering bids last week from online gambling companies for issuing license. So it seems that it is possible. This is a Reddit comment, so this is not, I'm not taking this as gospel. This is just some rando's opinion on Reddit. But it does seem like there is a possibility that could have influenced why they chose to report when they reported, why they tried to play up the article to make Dave look as bad as possible, and that kind of thing. So I think at journalistic monopolies, I agree, a massive problem. Let's see. Portnoy argued that the story was a hit piece without factual basis that was released to torpedo his company's bid for the gaming license, which seems to have gone that way since his company did not get one of the licenses. So someone's speculating maybe the Business Insider had a financial incentive for a company that they share backing with to try to get an up on the competition there, which is, it's possible. It's possible. And if so, I don't consider that ethical journalism. So then there's a bunch of things here. Someone posted a video here. We've got enough videos to react to. It's an article where one woman, so no one directly ever accuses him of the crime of SA in this, right? People just talk about how he's scary and violent and you need to watch out. And I personally would not consider what I saw in that article to be consensual, because if you are going to engage in scenes this is an important message for everybody. I said at the beginning, I'm going to say it again. If you're going to engage in a scene that is involving any role playing, is involving any type of consensual pain or anything like that, safe word is mandatory. You must have a safe word, okay? Everyone got that? And the safe word doesn't have to be verbal, because if that includes what Dave was doing, which was this, right? If it's that, and you can't necessarily talk, maybe you need a finger snap or something, okay? All right? Everyone got that? It's important that we all have an understanding and make sure that things are actually consensual the whole time. God damn it, Dave. So it's one thing where it's like Dave sucks, the article sucks. Dave sucks and the article sucks. So these people talk about two consenting adults. This is where it's a little bit of a I'm not, the article doesn't establish whether they had any safe words set up. It doesn't establish whether it was fully consensual. The women in the article didn't necessarily say it was non-consensual. It was a thing where it's I wouldn't consider it consensual. I don't know. This is a weird situation. I think the warning from this is stay away from Dave. He's a creep. God damn it, Dave. Yes, exactly. God damn it, Dave. That's another quote from me. That's this whole year is just me going, God damn it. You guys believe the Deep Dave series started just like 6 months ago? So there's a lot of, so this Reddit thread goes into a lot of stuff. I mostly wanted to look at that comment about the shared financial backing. But we're going to take a look at Philip DeFranco's video. We're going to take a look at Ben Shapiro's video. And if we have time, we'll look at the stream that Destiny did, but I think it might be too long. So let's take a look at everything and talk about it all. All right. Boop. So, yeah, and it's true. And maybe it's entirely possible as well that some of these women didn't call it that because they're scared of the backlash. Although they did go under pseudonyms. Oh my God, I just got an MLM ad for a toxic poop thing. Okay, that was weird. All right, so we're going to play this on 1.5 speed just for a copyright claim, but Philip DeFranco talks fast, so hopefully it's not too fast. I didn't do it on faster than that.
Today, let's just genuinely jump into it. Let's talk about the massive news and the massive allegations against Barstool Sports founder Dave Portnoy.
Dude, I like Philip DeFranco's background. He has a cool background.
Well, is his almost immediate video response. Right, so earlier today, insider reporter Julia Black published this article titled, "Young Women Say They Met Barstool Sports Founder Dave Portnoy for Sex and It Turned Violent and Humiliating." Black saying that it took her 8 months to write this article, and in it, she details the alleged experiences of multiple women, starting with a woman referred to only as Madison. And there, Madison claimed to have DM'd Portnoy on Instagram when she was 20, he was 43, saying that
Philip DeFranco's videos are also very well edited. I know he doesn't edit them himself because he puts out a lot of videos. This is something Tyler was talking to me about the other day about how I put out a lot of content and I research and edit and script everything myself and how that's a lot. And I'm like, yeah, I guess it's a lot, but like, I'm not going to pay someone else to do it. I love doing this whole process.
the things then moved over to Snapchat, where Portnoy allegedly began showing her graphic videos of women he'd slept with. With insider reporting and messages they reviewed, Portnoy pressed her to tell him about her sexual fantasies. Her responding about a rape fantasy, right?
Okay, Philip DeFranco, if you got me demonetized for saying that, I'm not going to be very happy with you.
No control, which Portnoy replied, "You and I are going to get along so well." Eventually, Madison claimed Portnoy even flew her out first class to his home, saying that when she got there, she found him to be very rude. He just reminded me of a boring, grumpy old man. But still, later that night, she said things escalated. They began making out, saying that as things got more sexual, he started filming her without her permission. And from there, saying that the experience got so rough, it felt like she was getting raped. Later telling a friend that he choked her so hard she couldn't breathe, also that she screamed in pain throughout the encounter. And those details specifically reminded people of another controversy Portnoy was in earlier this year. Some saying it sounded similar. That involving a lead.
So they're going to talk about the other controversy he was in. And yeah, the issue with this controversy is, yeah, Ben Shapiro is about to bring up that it's like, oh, but she had the SA fantasy. Doesn't matter. You need consent to do it. You can be interested in first of all, fantasizing something and wanting to do it in real life are different things. Second of all, even if you are interested in trying it in real life, that doesn't mean you want to try it right at this very moment right now, right? It's the same thing with just because maybe you like having sex doesn't mean you want to have sex with this person right now. This whole thing where people are like, well, you do sex sometimes, so doesn't that mean you consent to sex all the time? No. God damn it, some people.
The video that showed him aggressively choking a woman with a collar and a leash, spitting on her. Very notably, with that specific controversy, both Portnoy and the woman claimed that the encounter was consensual.
Right, so I don't understand why that was a controversy at all. Why was it a controversy? The only controversy would be that the tape leaked. That Dave was a victim of a non-consensual tape leaking in that case. I don't get why.
That also didn't stop there being a lot of backlash, even causing the share price of Barstool's parent company to take a big hit at that time. And so for the people making those comparisons, it's important to note that these latest allegations do not appear to be as consensual. Because in addition to Madison, there was...
I think that's a good point that Philip brings up there, that that situation seemed consensual. These seem like they might not be consensual, and that's important.
Another one who told Insider that Portnoy choked and filmed her during sex without her permission. Both women describing the encounters as frightening and humiliating, taking a massive toll on her mental health. In fact, a third woman who was 19 at the time claiming that a sexual encounter she had with Portnoy was so damaging that she became suicidal afterward, allegedly going over to this house after being pressured by her friends.
Yeah, dude, she has shitty friends. Why would your friends pressure you to go have sex with a 40-something-year-old man when you're like, why would they do that?
Having sex is aggressive, saying that he choked her, also saying that he kicked her out right after, saying she felt overwhelmed, that photos of her at his house began spreading locally. Reportedly, her mom also found out and went to the police, but she refused to press charges, saying that she doesn't feel like the encounter was sexual assault and that she didn't want him to drag her name through the mud. Still adding that she felt very preyed on and deeply disturbed by the situation. With all of these women saying that they've been afraid to speak out for fear of retaliation by both Portnoy and his...
Okay, so yeah, I mean, that's an important point too.
With all
Philip DeFranco as a YouTuber overall, I feel like I don't watch all his videos. I've seen a lot of his videos before. I feel like he does a pretty good job of reporting the story directly. So like in this case, he's reporting what was in the article. I think he does a good job of reporting the story directly. That's what I've noticed for him.
This, I will say, if you want the most detailed version of this, I'll link down to the original article, though I think it might be behind a paywall, at least as of
Yeah, it was behind a paywall. So once again, shout out to the person who sent me the screenshots of the article so we could all go through that together, because it was behind a paywall. No thanks to Business Insider.
reporting right now. That brings us to the second part of this story, and that's soon after this article dropped, you had Portnoy himself dropping a 12-minute video response describing
So Dave Portnoy responds to it and says, "This is bullshit. I didn't do anything wrong."
this as a hippies, though much more serious than the ones that he's previously been hit with. So he essentially paints him as this monster, the sexual deviant, and also accusing Black of going after every woman he's ever been remotely associated with to try and create a false narrative that she had already decided on before writing. Also saying that his lawyers told him not to even admit knowing these accusers, but because of small details in their claims, he says that he's figured out who they are and he knows what really happened. As far as the allegations from Madison, you had him saying,
at no point was it not 100% consensual.
So this is Dave right here. Now he's talking about the whole situation, saying he's saying at no point was it not 100% consensual. If I were in his position right now, which, first of all, if you're getting into this position in the first place, you probably made a bunch of missteps. But if I were in his position and saying like, and knowing for a fact that the encounter was consensual, I would probably state the things I knew that made it consensual. She told me explicitly she wanted to do it. We had a safe word. We had taken precautions. We had thoroughly discussed how to be safe about this beforehand. But I don't think Dave did any of those things, or at least it doesn't seem like he did. Again, can't speculate. Seems like he didn't, but I don't know why he's not instantly telling us what. I don't know. Maybe he is going to. Let's see.
At no point did she ask me to stop. At no point did either of us think something unseemly happened. There was
Okay, but if you're doing a scene and she doesn't ask you to stop, first of all, I thought the article said that she didn't ask you to stop because you were doing this to her, and you can't always talk clearly like that. So that could be one reason. Also, whether it was consensual or like whether it was legally consensual or not, it still sounds like an awful experience.
there's no weirdness after. It was totally fine.
And Anastasia, consent can be retracted at any time. It can be retracted at any time. If you're in the middle of having sex with someone and they say, "I don't want to do this anymore," you don't do it anymore. Just because you've started doesn't mean you have the right to keep going.
Fine, normal interaction, sexual, 100% consensual. My lawyer's like, don't make these blanket statements. I'm telling you now, her version of events is not true on our hookup.
Okay, if Dave's lawyer said don't go make a statement right now, why did Dave go make a statement? I feel like his lawyer's probably like, "God damn it, Dave." But his lawyer, if he has the same lawyer he had when we read that he did during that his anti-union controversy, then his lawyer's also named Dave. So it was like, "Dave, don't make statements." "Oh, Dave, I'm gonna do it." "God damn it, Dave, why are you talking?" "Dave, I do what I want. Don't tell me what to do, Dave." It's just Dave everywhere, right?
So there you have people pushing back, saying that Madison never claimed to Insider that she asked him to stop, with most of her allegations being that he just went ahead and did things without her permission. And with this, because it was an aspect of the story of Portnoy claiming that after they hooked up and talked more, they realized that they were like oil and vinegar and didn't see the world the same way. So she actually slept on the couch since they didn't really get along. Portnoy was saying that she left and never talked again, and adding,
If what she's telling that she didn't enjoy the experience is true, I had no idea, and that's horrible, and I never want to feel that way. But if there was a hidden camera in that room, and it wasn't a he said, she said, and someone saw the interaction.
Okay, first of all, if there was a hidden camera in there, this is why Dave shouldn't have. Dave, this is why you need to listen to your lawyer and not talk about this. Because if there was a hidden camera in that room, it's probably not the best thing to say when a woman has already accused you of non-consensually filming her, which is what she said in the article. She said, "He filmed me without my permission." And he's like, "Well, if there was a hidden camera in that room," she's claiming either that's not a good look, Dave. This is why Dave needs to listen to his lawyer. On a supercut of all the Daves saying, "Dave, he is the final boss of Dave's." Good Lord, he's the final boss of Dave's.
Interaction, there would be absolutely nothing there. I promise you I've never lied.
He also addressed the third allegation, saying that he was never contacted by authorities after the mom reached out to the police.
Because I've never done anything that's remotely, not consent.
And that's important too. Just because someone doesn't explicitly say no, if they are in a position where they feel threatened. So for the most extreme example people often give, what if someone has a gun to your head? Maybe you won't say no because you're afraid of them killing you. Just because you didn't say no doesn't mean it was consensual, because it wasn't. You were under a threat, right? And I'm saying that as an example. Biggest disclaimer, I'm not saying that Dave threatened anybody. I'm not saying that I have any knowledge of what happened legally. I'm saying that in the like blanket statement, in the context of all of this, there is often more to the picture than just was there a no, yes or no. There's often more to the situation than that, because there are other circumstances that could be coming into play. And yeah.
consensual.
Dave is not really I think in his position, if he really truly feels that this was a consensual encounter, I don't know why he's not debunking the specific points that the article makes and instead just being like, nope. Like, I think it might be that he actually is just I mean, I do think he's a creep.
So this story, total news to me. The mother saying there's parties in Nantucket. If you put like a police car, you'll see girls getting dropped off all the time. Totally false. I never have people at my house. Rarely. I hate people at my house.
Well, he did say he felt bad if their interactions did actually make her depressed. He also shared alleged DMs that they exchanged where she seemed to be speaking very positively about having sex or wanting to have sex with him. Portnoy adding that she even asked him to meet up after they had sex, saying,
okay, I guess the one thing he debunked, I'm not saying he proved it false, but he denied, I guess. The one thing he denied is that there are not frequently women coming into his house because he hates having people at his house. I don't know.
At a bar, by the way, is where she wanted to meet me the first time. So all this under, that's 21 plus. That's where she said, hey, I'm going to this bar, meet me here. To me, that's pretty black and white. They're saying she was so depressed by me, suicidal almost, but she was continually hitting me up to hang out. And it was the mother who found the DMs. Maybe she's a shit. I don't know. I'm telling you the truth.
Portnoy then taking aim at the reporter again.
This reporter had an agenda from day one, from the second she picked up paper. Like,
I agree that the reporter, I think, had an agenda. And I think that that's a shame because I think it is important to expose when people like Dave are taking advantage of other people, are hurting other people, are being predatory to other people. That is important to expose. I wish this reporter had been able to expose that outside of some of that other stuff that was going on, because I think that that muddies the whole thing and takes the focus away from what should be important here.
They're asking the internet, tell us bad stories about Dave Portnoy. Well, guess what? A lot of people hate me. I guarantee this, they'll never be able to prove anything, nothing, because nothing's ever happened. But I can't stop it. He said, she said. So yeah, it's scary and it sucks. And it's sad that that's the world we live in. This isn't a court of law where it's innocent until proven guilty. No charges ever have been filed. Probably won't, unless I'm provoking right now. But there's no way to do it because I've never done anything.
And finally, there's aiming to take a shot at the reporter not really wanting to get his side of things.
8 months, 24 hours to respond. That's what the.
So she gave Dave 24 hours to respond, and so she didn't get his side of the story. I do think the article would have been better with his side. I think it would have just been a more, if you're going to report on somebody, you probably should interview them. And I guess he didn't respond fast enough. I do think the article would have been better with his side of the story, and it not because I think Dave is a good person, but because I think from a perspective of getting a complete story, that would be better. There's an ad coming in a minute here. I'm going to skip this ad real quick. The truth about anti-Semitism. That's important. Yeah, anti-Semitism is a massive problem, but unfortunately, we're not going to watch an ad.
With Portnoy also taking aim at Business Insider on Twitter, quote tweeting Business Insider senior politics reporter Grace Panetta heads up that Insider is currently offering a huge discount on annual premium subscriptions, so you can currently pay just $4 a month to read incredible journalism like Julia Black's investigation into Dave Portnoy. With Portnoy responding, and I'm the predator. Yeah, in general, that's where we are right now. Of course, this is breaking news today. We're still seeing the ripple effects. People sounding off on all sides. Also, a potential lead to where the story may develop. We saw Insider's Cat 10 Bar, of course, among other things, is the reporter who broke that big Dirty Dom and David Dobrik story. Speaking of this story is essential. Dave Portnoy has exhibited a pattern of pursuing barely legal teenage women and having rough, potentially traumatic sex with them. And adding his BFF's podcast with TikTok star Josh Richards gives him unfettered access to teen girls. So there, if you go through the Twitter comments,
that's creepy. And then my point is, whether or not, at the end of the day, whether or not Dave did anything illegal, it is my opinion that Dave is massively creepy.
There are a number of reactions, but also people saying, well, you said barely legal, but it's still legal. Then people pushing back against that, saying, no, it's about the power dynamic. He's this like multi-millionaire older guy. They're young, impressionable. So like I said, everyone's sounding off right now, and so I'm going to pass you the microphone. What are your thoughts regarding the story as is?
Thanks, Philip. I appreciate you passing me the microphone. I want to react to Ben Shapiro's story about this. I'm getting hungry, y'all. We might have to wrap up the. You know what? Maybe I'll make this a separate video. Do people want me to continue the stream for like another hour, or would you rather? Hey, Chewy, what do you think, buddy? What do you think, Chewy? Perhaps maybe I will wrap up the stream just because we've been going for a while and I have a lot of stuff to do to get ready for tonight's show. But I can absolutely talk more about this, and I would love to, or maybe I should keep going. I don't know, because there's so much more to talk about here. There's so much more to talk about with like the Ben Shapiro stuff that's going on. I'm just getting hungry. That's okay. Okay, you know what? Yeah, I'll eat after. We're gonna do the Ben Shapiro video. Let's react to the Ben Shapiro video. First, I got some ads I gotta wait through. Eating is important, I agree. But if I take a break to eat, I don't know how much longer I'll be able to keep going for because I have to get stuff ready for a show I have tonight for my products and stuff. So first of all, let's have Ben Shapiro let's do a drunk Ben Shapiro first. We love slowing Ben Shapiro down to half speed so that he sounds drunk. Let's listen to him drunk first.
Need more people to stand up and refuse to be canceled.
We need more people stand up and refuse to be canceled. Guys, it's just funny that Ben Shapiro is he talks so fast that when you slow him down, he sounds drunk. Yeah, Ben Shapiro's gross, guys. Yeah, I really don't like Ben Shapiro. So that's me admitting my bias going into this. I do not like Ben Shapiro. What he says in this article is pretty gross, so warning for that, although this whole stream's been pretty gross. We are going to follow Ben Shapiro on Your Morning Guru, so we'll roast him and stuff like that. But he talks so fast when you speed him down to half speed, he just sounds drunk. Yes, that's the thing. If you're rich enough, you won't really get canceled. As if you're rich enough, you can afford to come back from anything, whether that's back into the public eye or just continue living your life because you got money. You got money, you got power, and that's a shame.
In this society. And increasingly, we're starting to see that.
Increasingly, we're drunk Ben Shapiro. Especially he's like, we gotta stop getting canceled.
Right, so Dave Chappelle refused to be canceled by the 7.
Okay, we're talking about Dave Chappelle. That's another Dave. Just everyone's Dave. Ben Shapiro starts this video talking about a Dave. I want to get to Dave Portnoy because he's the focus. But everyone's Dave. Oh, if we play Ben at 1.75 speed, how fast is he going to sound?
Trans advocates over at Netflix. The cancellation efforts continue, by the way.
Good lord. He's so fast. I know I sped him up a little bit, but good lord, he's fast.
According to Politico, at the Duke Ellington School of Arts in Georgetown, the students refused Dave Chappelle's money. The high school planned a fundraiser with its famed alum.
Okay, I know that Dave Chappelle is another Dave, but I want to get to Dave Portnoy.
Hashtag. They all identified as that. So the students were uncomfortable supporting Dave Chappelle, even though they'd given a bunch of money to the school. They gave $100,000 to the school, gave it one of his Emmy Awards in 2017, delivered a commencement.
Let's get to Dave Portnoy because he's the
focus. 8.5 months. There's a reporter named.
Okay, now we're on the Dave Portnoy stuff. Let's have Ben be drunk again.
Julia Black, who dedicated 8.5 months tracking down people who had sex with Dave Portnoy, and then trying to gin up an article suggesting that Dave Portnoy abuses women against their consent. Right? That is the gist of the article. The article's headline is...
Wait, did he already do the whole part? I'm going to skip back. Did he do the part about Dave doesn't live his life like I would?
Did 8 story about Dave Portnoy is that there is an outlet called Business Insider.
I know I speed everyone else up to avoid copyright stuff, but Ben, I got to slow down. It's Business Insider.
And they dedicated 8.5 months. There's a reporter named Julia Black who dedicated 8.5 months.
8.5 months, 18 American dollars. Well, God damn it! Why can't Ben Shapiro's name be Dave? Why can't your name be Dave?
Tracking down people who had sex with Dave Portnoy, and then trying to gin up an article suggesting that Dave Portnoy abuses women against their consent. All right, that is the gist of the article. The article's headline is, quote,
dude, I got, when I reacted to slowing down Ben Shapiro and making him sound drunk, a bunch of Ben Shapiro fans were like, wow, your only criticism of Ben is that you can make him sound drunk? That proves you have no real arguments. I was like, no, first of all, that was meant to be funny. And second of all, I do have real criticism. I said it in the video.
Quote, I was literally screaming in pain. Young women say they met Barstool Sports founder Dave Portnoy for sex, and it turned violent and humiliating. Now, nowhere.
Yeah, what is Ben Shapiro's middle name? Ben Shapiro's middle name is Dave. Hold up. Let's find out. Ben Shapiro, middle name. Aaron. It's Aaron. God damn it. I was hoping it'd be Dave.
In the article, is there an allegation of rape? Nowhere in the article is there an allegation that they asked Portnoy to stop doing something and he continued to do it. Okay.
There is an but it's It's not about whether there's an allegation, a legal allegation of SA. It's about whether when you go into that type of situation, if you have taken the proper precaution, because this is just important. I know someone in the chat earlier brought up that, like, in a lot of BDSM circles, people can very quickly figure out who the people who want to abuse their power are, and they say, no, we don't want you here, because that should not be part of this community at all. I say this community. I'm not saying that right here we are all in a BDSM community. Absolutely not. I'm just saying, I guess that community would be the better way to say that. No, if you slow down classically, Abby, she just sounds like you slowed her down. She doesn't sound drunk.
Okay, so basically what this story seems to amount to,
dude, when you slow him down, he stares at you a while. Seems to amount to, like, he looks like he's gonna kill me. He's like staring intently at me.
is women are talking to the report.
Wait, Ben descends from a Dave. Is Ben's dad named Dave? Hold on. Ben Shapiro, dad. Yes! Ben Shapiro's dad is named Dave! We knew there had to be a Dave in there somewhere. We knew there had to be a Dave in there somewhere. Dave Shapiro is Ben Shapiro's dad. I'm like knocking my headphones off. I'm so excited to know that there is a Dave. Oh my god! Thank you. Also, yes, Pet Lover said that. Ben descends from a Dave. Oh my god, thank you.
By the way, said that she was originally writing the article about Dave Portnoy's business strategy.
She was originally writing the article. I mean, Dave Portnoy's business strategy is also shit. He gets mad at people for trying to unionize. He threatens his employees. He sexually harasses people as a businessman. He's not a great business owner either. Like, I guess he makes money and that makes him a successful business owner by monetary metrics, but he sounds like an awful person to work for.
Okay. Because this is what reporters do. They start off talking business strategy and then they wildly veer off into the sex lives of the people.
I mean, isn't that what you're doing, Ben? Ben, I don't know if Ben calls himself a reporter, but he always starts off with like, all right, here's what happened. And now I'm going to share all of my opinions on this and why that this is all the fault of the liberal media
that they are covering. Or alternatively, that's not true. And she was just trying to track down anyone who'd had sex with Dave Portnoy because...
Dude, I can't get over it.
Let's face it, Dave Portnoy, when it comes to his personal life, he does not live his life the way that I would live my life. Let's just put it that way.
I love what Ben does. He doesn't live his life the way that I would live my life. Let's just put it. I love this part. This part's funny to me.
On a moral level, I just think that it is a bad idea to run around banging 19-year-old Instagram models.
I mean, Ben's right about that. It is a morally bad idea to run around banging 19-year-old Instagram models. Ben Shapiro, 1 point for Ben Shapiro. He got that one right.
Just think that that is a bad way to live your life.
Yes, this is from the man. This is what I was going to bring up. This Ben's like, these women, they said whatever. It's like, yeah, Ben, you also said, spit in my mouth, look in my eyes, this P word is wet, come take a dive.
But that's not really the issue here. The issue here is why exactly the media have determined that it is bad to go around spending your life banging 19-year-old Instagram models when this is literally what Leonardo DiCaprio does, and they think he's great.
My guess, I don't know about Leonardo DiCaprio's sex life at all. I haven't really looked into it. My guess would be that he probably doesn't make them feel threatened and preyed upon. Although, I don't know. I'm not going to say that for certain. I don't know anything. I've never heard anything about Leonardo DiCaprio's sex life. But guys, as I brought up, the main issue here is, does everyone feel safe? And does everyone feel that it is a consensual encounter? That is the number one most important thing. Does Leonardo DiCaprio do that? I mean, if so, that's kind of weird. And I wouldn't really support it. But as long as it's fully consensual, it's not really my business.
Like, the way that the left works is that every single person who is of the left can be as sexually profligate as they want to be. In fact, You are rewarded for being sexually profligate if you are on the left.
That's not true. Harvey Weinstein's on the left. Nobody's rewarding him for being sexually profligate. Again, this is not about being, as Drunk Ben would say, sexually profligate. This is a straw man he's created, right? That's not what this is about. It's about whether the encounter is consensual and whether it takes advantage of people. It's about whether people are victimized as a result of the encounter, right? It's not about political leanings. It's really not. Because if someone who's a right-leaning person is having lots of consensual sex with everyone they want to, live your life and have fun. There are plenty of left-leaning people who have gotten in trouble for this too. You know who was also left-leaning? Epstein. Trust me, nobody supports him. If anyone supports Epstein, you have a real problem.
If you are a marriage abiding,
apparently Leonardo DiCaprio is creepy. I didn't know anything about his sex life. I didn't know about Dave Portnoy's sex life until this either. Try to stay out of people's sex lives for the most part.
standards keeping, solid family man on the left, you are less worthy of emulation and celebration by the left than if you nail everything in sight.
Do you have a source for that? I've never seen that to be true. Ben likes to make a lot of blanket statements with nothing to back them up, and he just relies on the fact that someone in his audience will have probably had a similar life experience and be like, oh yeah, I have noticed that. But there's no indication that this is some kind of widespread problem. Anyway. Oh, sure. I don't necessarily think. So here's the thing too. Whether you're right or left leaning, that also means different things to different people, right? A lot of people talk about being left leaning as being whether that's economically wanting wealth redistribution, wanting socialism, wanting universal healthcare, or things like that, tend to be considered left-leaning values. Wanting the free market, wanting a capitalist system, wanting things like that tend to be considered right-leaning values. However, there are people who want to blend those models, and then there are people who, for example, want a world with wealth distribution or work with democratic politicians to try to make that happen. And as a result, and maybe he wasn't left leaning. I might be wrong about that. I thought he was, but don't take my word for it. That's not a fact. I'm not trying to state a fact right there. I thought he was for some reason. I could be wrong. I'd probably consider myself a left leaning person, but that doesn't mean that I'll defend every left leaning person or things like that. Has Ben not heard of Swerve? I don't think Ben has, honestly. I really don't think he has. It is important to define your terms and cite your sources. What do you mean by a right-leaning person? Because in Ben's mind, right-leaning people are just people who think exactly like he thinks. But there are people who are more in the like Ben, I think, sometimes considers himself a libertarian, but there's a lot of libertarians who are very into the everyone should smoke as much weed as they want. Everyone can get married to everyone. Polyamorous couples can all get married. Everyone should do whatever the fuck they want, but also the government has to stay out of business. And they would technically be considered having right-leaning beliefs because they believe the government should be out of business, but their beliefs are closer to anarchy. And again, that's a thing where it's like, that's not true for everybody. There's going to be people all over various parts of the spectrum, but that's why just saying this is the right and they all believe this, and this is the left and they all believe this, and this is what happens with this group of people. Ben is greatly, greatly oversimplifying the situation, and it is not helpful. It is not helpful. Yeah, and exactly. People on the left do bad things. People on the right do bad things. People do things that go against their own values a lot of the time. People are hypocritical. A lot of people just suck, guys. People just suck.
Of all genders and inanimate objects. Right? This makes you a hero on the left.
Says who?
So, if you're not on the left and you do this, however, the standard radically shifts.
The only thing I've seen about Dave Portnoy's political leanings is that he doesn't like unions, which I guess not liking unions is more of a right-wing thing. But other than that, I have not seen any political beliefs of his in this entire time. His political beliefs have not been brought up at all. Whether Dave Portnoy is in favor of a capitalist system or a socialist system or a hybrid economic model has not once been brought up. So I don't understand how the right and the left. The answer is that Ben Shapiro knows if he dunks on the left, it'll get leftists mad and reacting to him, and it will get right-leaning people on his side. He does this for the attention. It's very obvious, but still. Exactly, Pet Lover. Pet Lover is on it. Pet Lover is on it today.
And the standard shifts just randomly. Like the left will just go after, and every so often, they'll sort of pick somebody.
Dude, from now on, Ben Shapiro, I will only react to him if he sounds drunk. Because, oh my God, look at his frozen face. Look at what it froze on. Guys, look at what it froze on. Oh my God. He just looks so grumpy. He looks so angry.
Smack him for no reason.
Smack him.
Just to demonstrate they can change the rules at any time. Do you remember a few years ago
God, this is too funny.
Middle of meat.
What's funny is that, right, because Ben Shapiro talks so fast, so when you slow him down, he doesn't sound like he's talking slow. He sounds like a drunk guy talking at normal drunk guy speed.
Two, there's a big story about Aziz Ansari.
All right, we're talking about Aziz Ansari. That story is a different story than this
marriage.
One. Let's go to Dave.
For it, as though he had done something deeply wrong. Now, I think that he had done something wrong.
The way he said that, I think that he had done something wrong. Guys, we're not going to do not criticize Ben Shapiro's appearance. Appearance is a low blow. I do make him sound drunk just talking fast is a choice.
Because I'm a traditional moralist, but
almost traditional.
If you're not a traditional moralist, and all you care about is the value of consent as opposed to, the holiness of marriage and the soulful nature of sexual activity with somebody that you actually love as opposed to just banging it out.
Banging it out. I need a good clip. I love clips of Ben Shapiro saying that. Like, I have clips of him slowed down singing wet ass P word. There were some whores in this house.
Right? If you're just somebody who doesn't care about any of that, I don't know how you were angry at Aziz Ansari.
Okay, sorry. I am skipping an ad real quick, and then we'll go back into Ben.
But they went after Aziz Ansari anyway, because every so often, the left has to find...
Yeah, you can't trust Ben's advice on sex. He has that amazing self-owned tweet where he's like, my wife is a doctor, and she said that if your P word is getting wet, it means you have a bacterial vaginosis, actually. Let's skip ahead. Talk about Dave.
Because we rule the roost. Okay, so there are no standards for the left.
That's patently false. The left has a lot of high standards. I sometimes that's a thing. Like, being on the right or the left, extreme right wing and extreme left wing people both have a weird purity culture about them, where it's like you need to make sure you're doing the right thing at all times according to their standards. The left absolutely has standards. Right wing people and left wing people, that is such a dichotomy that people can't easily be grouped into two groups that much, to the point where, like, if you say that left wing people all think this and right wing people have these standards, it's like they don't. You're going to find someone who shares similar beliefs with you on certain issues that doesn't see your entire life standards the same way. Case in point, Dave Portnoy. Ben seems to be... I called Ben Dave. That's a Freudian slip. Ben is saying right here that, like, oh, people are only mad at Dave for this because he's not on the left, which, first of all, I didn't know what Dave's political beliefs were at all, but apparently he's not on the left. And Ben is saying right-wing people, people not on the left has no standards. We all have standards. But okay, but if Dave Portnoy is on your political side, but you just said that he doesn't follow your sexual standards, so you just proved to yourself that this dichotomy doesn't exist. I will say, yes, Cutie Pie Mania brings up I should have a combo with Cat Black. Dude, I love Cat Black. She's one of my favorite YouTubers. She's been one of my favorite YouTubers for a long time. And she actually she brought me up in a video once. I was shocked. She commented on one of my videos, and then she had this discussion where she talked about my video that she'd watched, and she had a discussion about the concept of bisexual erasure and whether straight passing privilege exists, which I personally don't think it does. She has mixed feelings on it, which I respect, because she brought up a lot of really interesting points about her specific experience as a trans woman who has dated bisexual men. And I think that she has a lot of interesting just interesting point of view. I really like her. I hope I can have a conversation with her sometime. I would love to. I think she's great. I think she's great.
Which means that Dave Portnoy is now bad for engaging in precisely the behavior that the left celebrates, because sex is basically just a biological function.
Nobody is mad at Dave for having sex outside of marriage. Nobody is mad at Dave because he has a lot of sex with a lot of people. People are mad at Dave because the way that women felt after sex was like they were frightened, and they didn't feel like he was respectful of them, and they felt like they had a terrible time and like he was violent. This is a completely different situation, Ben. Ben only sees the world in sex and not sex. There's no in between.
To the left that should be celebrated anywhere and everywhere it occurs.
No, there is no such person who thinks sex should be celebrated anywhere and everywhere it occurs. Recently, leftists, I saw this. I remember this debate happening. I did comment on it, not on my channel though. But over the past summer, people talked about whether kink is allowed at Pride. And this was multiple leftists were having, like leftist online influencers, were having a lot of debate with one another, where some people were saying kink does belong at Pride because ever since, Stonewall back in 1969, the kink community has been a big part of the LGBT rights movement, and it's important to celebrate, sexual acceptance even when it's outside the norm, regardless. And other people were saying, no kink at Pride, because Pride should be a kid-friendly event, and you should be welcoming to, young kids who are 12, 13, whatever, who might be questioning their sexual orientation, all. And those were the two sides to that debate. People were my personal thought is that I think kink should be allowed at Pride, and you should have separate activities for kids. That's my personal thought. I'm open to changing it. However, when I say separate activities for kids, I mean away from kink stuff. And I also think that drawing the line of what is sexual and what isn't is very difficult when you're talking about a community that isn't prescribing to normal puritanical norms, right? Anyway, my point is that was a sexual discussion where people on the left had opposing views about it. So it wasn't about celebrating all sex where and when it takes place. Some people were saying this activity is inherently sexual and does not belong in public, and other people were saying, no, this is an event of celebrating this activity, and it is not an inherently sexual act to dress this way or do this thing. That was a leftist debate. So Ben is wrong that leftists all feel this way.
Under all circumstances, it is not a question of why. It is not a question of the person you are having sex with. It is just a question of who wants to get their rocks off at what time, and did anybody say no?
Okay, if everyone is a consenting adult, who the fuck cares?
Those are the only issues that should matter to the left, unless they're busy making an example of somebody for no reason, just to demonstrate their power. Okay, so Business Insider runs this story. And here's the story. Quote, in the summer of 2020, Madison sent Barstool Sports founder Dave Portnoy a direct message.
Yeah, I agree with PewDiePie. Sorry, CutiePie. I called you PewDiePie. That's ridiculous. I'm so sorry I called you PewDiePie. My mouth is all jumbled up because I can't fucking talk right now because I've been talking for 3 hours plus the stream I did this morning. So the stream is only going to go for probably 10 or so more minutes. But CutiePie Mania says, Pride started as a protest. I get the need for family friendly, but that can be another event. And I agree. I think it's important for the Pride parade itself, the Pride event, to celebrate the progress, but also be an example of this is where we still need to go. This is all the people in all the communities we're representing. I agree.
On Instagram complimenting his famous One Bite Pizza reviews, sick pizza reviews.
Drunk Ben going, sick pizza reviews. I don't know why that's so funny to me.
She wrote, "Thanks, fly bitch."
Thanks, Fly. Dude, I need to take some clips from this. Ben going, sick pizza reviews. Thanks, Fly, bitch.
Portnoy responded. She was a 20-year-old college student at the time. Portnoy, a 43-year-old multimillionaire. The conversation soon moved to Snapchat and text, where it quickly turned to the topic of sex. Well, there's a shock.
Well, there's a shock, dude. But Ben slowed down. I could listen to him all day. It's fucking funny.
He sent her graphic videos of other women he'd slept with, according to Madison. And in messages reviewed by Insider, he pressed her to tell him about her sexual fantasies. And she wrote.
I love how, like, you slow it down. He goes, and she wrote. What did she write, Ben? What'd she write?
I mean, actually, this one's kind of common. Like a rape fantasy, where I don't have any control of what's going on. You and I are going to get along so well, he responded. But I will say, in order to do that one, I have to be pretty comfortable with you, Madison said. Of course, Portnoy said.
Of course.
And he bought her a first-class plane ticket to visit him at his $2.2 million Nantucket home. The trip.
All right, Ben's just reading the article. We already read the article. Basically, Ben's opinion here is that, again, it's the fault of the leftist media or whatever, which is not relevant at all to this. I do think the article had some bias in it. I don't think that this is a everyone on the right has this standard, everyone on the left has this standard. That doesn't make any sense. Guys, thank you all so much for joining me for this. There is just a lot to unpack with Dave Portnoy. So my conclusion, after all of that, the question in the title, is Dave Portnoy the worst Dave? Yes, I think so. Yes. After all of that we just covered, I have to say, of all the Daves we've covered, he is absolutely the worst. He is the worst of the Daves. Oh my God, is there a lot going on with him? Oh my God, is he awful to his employees? Is he awful to women? What a nasty dude. So, no, I do not support Dave Portnoy. He seems like an awful dude. I wouldn't want to be around him. Kind of scared of his fans. But if anyone has different thoughts, feel free to let me know in the comments below. I'm always open to discussion. But I do think he is the worst Dave so far. We will be covering more Daves next week. We're going to be talking about other Daves who have done other bad things. So right now we have the worst Dave. Next week we're going to talk about more bad Daves and some good Daves. And I'm glad you guys were all here. I appreciate you guys being here today. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for starting Friday off with me. Oh, I will absolutely pet Chewy for you guys. I'm going to do a show tonight selling books at a neighborhood craft fair with other local businesses, so I'm very excited for that. I got to get some boxes packaged up for that. I got to eat some lunch. I got to do a bunch of things. So I will see you guys again on Monday on the Your Morning Guru channel. This Monday we're going to follow Girl Defined. So if you want, we're going to review Girl Defined's book and all of that. So if you want some more like type of stuff, if you want some more rage-inducing content, follow us on Your Morning Guru. This Monday we're going to talk about Girl Defined, and then there will be more 12 Daves of Christmas next week. Thanks for joining me for the third Dave of Christmas. Thank you, Brianna. I'm glad you were here. I'm glad you guys were all here. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much. Keep supporting small businesses and all of your holiday shopping. If you're celebrating Hanukkah right now, I hope you're having a happy Hanukkah. If you're celebrating Christmas later this month, I hope you had a good start to December. I'm ready for this month. We're going to have a lot of fun. Anyway, yes, support small businesses. Have a great Friday. Vote in the cat contest if you haven't already, and I'll see you Monday. Bye, everyone.